At least it's quiet for now. Hopefully it lasts for you. Commenter says, you are not a snitch. Not the underscore. You talk to them first and ask them to move it. It's not snitching when it comes to safety. You have a small child and so do they. And it seems like you're the only adult in this situation. They were not respecting the boundaries set by your apartment, nor the one you redrew by asking them not to park there. They didn't even respect the promise they made. Another comment says, I'll still put up a video doorbell as soon as possible. Your neighbors are definitely underscore, and you never know how long they'll hold a grudge. Now, I'm super glad that things have calmed down for OP at this moment in time. Personally, I would still strongly suggest getting a video doorbell just simply because, and this might be projection because of my past and people that I used to grow up with, and neighbors around that particular area that I talk about every once in a while, petty people like that rarely change. The fact that she's walking past your front door and sticking her fingers up at the front door, not knowing if you're on the other side or not, it just says it all to me really. And this is someone who came to your door. A 40-year-old who came to your door, held up the phone so her mom could have a go at you. But like I said, it might be projected. It's just because I know neighbors that still got grudges with each other to this day over the pettiest underscore. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And I spotted this title. Looked a bit of a different one, so I thought, why not? This one's from the True Off My Chest subreddit from We're Just Roommates. It says, I started washing and putting away my roommate's favorite mug whenever she uses it. When she caught me, I lied about why I, 30 male, share an apartment with my friend, 30 female. I call her Gwen. Gwen has a lot of mugs, more than will fit in the cup cupboard all at once, so she rotates them seasonally. She loves swapping them out. I asked why, and she says it's like getting new mugs every couple of months. But there are 2 mugs in her collection that never leaves the kitchen. They are rarely in the cupboard because the second they are washed, she uses them again. We have a dishwasher, but it's broken. Part of our chore division is that we each take care of our own dishes. The thing is, I know she doesn't like doing her dishes. It's a sensory thing, but she insisted that we do our own dishes, and I thought that was pretty fair. I also know that Gwen's most favorite is a Spider-Man mug. She's never told me that. I can just tell because the Spider-Man mug gets picked before any of the others when it's clean. I know this because I see it in the sink every day for her to wash before bed with her other dishes from the day. There were times that her dishes sat for a couple of days before she could force herself to work through the sensory issues and get them done. Never got to the point of smelling bad and she apologized every time for any dishes she left overnight. I truly did not mind when that happened. I understand the sensory issues and I'm proud of her for keeping on top of it as much as she was. Now comes the part I need to get off my chest. The background info was important, I promise. Every time Gwen realizes she can use a Spider-Man mug, she dances an adorable happy dance while making a tea for the morning. She doesn't seem to realize she's dancing or doesn't realize I noticed her dancing. Either way, it's my favorite part of the day when I'm getting ready for work. And she dances a happy dance while she's getting breakfast because she gets to use a Spider-Man mug every single morning. It seriously cheers her up and she's been a lot more positive throughout the day since I started doing this. Gwen found me washing her dishes last week. I've been doing them for a while, but this was the first time she walked in and caught me bubble-handed washing a Spider-Man mug. Bubble-handed. Not going to lie, I panicked. She thanked me for helping her and then asked why I started to do her dishes too. She even asked if I was annoyed by her dishes when she left them. This was absolutely not the case, but I couldn't tell her I watched her happy dances. That's creepy, right? But it's so cute and makes me so happy to see her so happy. If she knew I watched her dance, she would feel self-conscious and stop doing them. She's pretty shy about stuff like that. She won't sing in front of anyone, but singing is one of her favorite things to do. And I've caught her singing along to her music before she realizes I'm home. More than she realizes. I also pretend not to notice when that happens. She has a really pretty voice, so yeah, I couldn't tell her why I'm really doing her dishes or I'd lose my favorite part of my day. I told her I like to get mine done every night. It's something my mom always told me to do. I was already there, so it wasn't a big deal to do hers too. It saves water, and she does a few of the household chores that I hate because she likes them. So, I don't mind doing this one tiny extra chore that she doesn't like. I feel like I was pretty obviously not telling the truth, but I think she believed me. She didn't tell me to stop, and she hasn't brought it up since she caught me. So, I still get to see her do her happy dances when she goes in the kitchen and sees a Spider-Man mug ready for her to start the day. Edit 1. Alright, I'm heading to bed. Thank you all for your comments. To clarify, we are just friends. We are roommates now, but we were friends first. Anyway, it's been fun, but it's 5 a.m. and I have an appointment at 10 a.m. This should be fun. Good night. Edit 2. It is now 9 a.m. I just woke up to so many notifications. Jesus H. Christ, what happened while I was napping? Thank you for everyone for your responses. I did not expect my habit that I thought would be seen as weird or creepy to get so much attention. I'm so glad so many of you got a smile from my post. As you can tell, I like to give people a reason to smile. Hope you all have an awesome day. Edit 3. Guys, she found the post. Scatter. No, for real. She commented on the post. She made an account specifically to comment. How? How did this happen? And how did it happen so goddamn fast? I didn't think she was on Reddit. She's always on YouTube watching video games or listening to stories. She used the picture of the mug as the profile pic. I'm panicking. I'll update when I'm brave enough to go out to the kitchen. I can hear her cooking. Edit 4. So, I linked the picture with an update and the automod did not like it. So, I have removed the link, but the update is still on my profile if anyone is interested. That's lovely. Doing something at the kindness of your heart because you enjoy seeing someone else happy is just an absolute wonderful thing. And I don't find it creepy that you notice her happy dances. You notice stuff like that when you're living with people and she's handling some chores you hate and you're doing something for her at the same time. You know, sounds like a healthy roommate relationship. But a commenter said to OP, "This is honestly the sweetest thing ever. The way you go out of your way just to make her mornings a little brighter, it's top tier wholesome." Cum says, "You're both good roommates. I'm so proud of you both. It's not easy getting along with someone in your space." OP says, "I've never been happy at home as I am with Gwen. She's so easy to live with, and any problems we have had, we have been able to talk over and resolve. It's almost too good to be true, but we do bicker a lot. I make fun of her wearing Crocs nearly 24/7, and she laughs every time she hears me swearing at my bed after I stub my toe on it. I do that at least twice a week. I'm an idiot. Lol. I've never been able to bring myself to put on a pair of Crocs, but I've heard that they are incredibly comfy." Another commenter says, "Well, after all the awful crap that I come across on Reddit every single day, a post like this is so refreshing. OP, this is adorable. Does Gwen know you're in love with her because she should?" OP says, "I mean, we say I love you to each other when we leave the apartment, but we're just friends." OP explains. "We then says, I love you. And says, one of our friends passed away a few years ago. It almost ended our whole group. His house was the hangout spot. He liked to do the planning for things. He kept us together by being the person we all wanted to be around. Losing him was the hardest thing I've gone through. We were like brothers. So now we all make sure to tell each other how we feel. We ask for help when we need it, and we always say, love you instead of goodbye." On how they met, OP says, "We met through a mutual friend group. And when we realized we were both looking for a place to live and we got on really well, it just made sense. So far, it's paying off." OP adds a little pic of the mugs and then says, "And wait for it update. I can't actually post an update in the true off my chest so soon after my first post. So, here's a small update. We talked a little bit over breakfast. I'm officially a fan of tea now. She thinks I'm an idiot, and I agree. But she's not mad about the post or about me creeping on her mug-inspired happy dances. All said and done, I think that post was making the best 5 a.m. decision I've ever made." Gwen says, "Hi, everyone." OP's thoughts on Gwen. OP says, "I was watching her work in the living room today, and it just kind of made me realize why I feel different, but also completely the same. I still have the same feelings of friendship, but it's like going from a familiar room to another room that's bigger, but it has the same paintings as the first room. There's just more wall space of paintings now. I hope that makes sense." I said it to Gwen and she asked if I was high. OP then added a picture of their chat exchange which just said, "Gwen said, 'You're a dork. I made you tea after your Zoom call.'" This was on Reddit, by the way. OP replied to him, "What mug is it? Though I know how this is about to go down." Gwen added a snooze smile and said the pumpkin. One commenter said, "Wait, for real, are you together now? 'Cause boy, you've fallen hard." OP says the pumpkin mug is a second favorite if that tells you anything, and it should. I can neither confirm nor deny what conversations were had over tea and toast this morning. For real though, we're going to do an update. We want to have more time to discuss things and figure out where we land, and we will post an update once we feel more comfortable. The fallout from this post has been a lot to handle on top of trying to figure out how to share without oversharing. We're usually pretty private people. I never imagined my silly post about doing the dishes would end up changing so much, but I wouldn't change a damn thing. Comment says, "Congrats, King. You're all meant for each other. None of your mugs better outdo her favorite mug." OP says, "I'm more of a water bottle guy. The mugs in the house are all hers. So, no risk of mug competition, although I might order her a custom one for a special occasion someday, but never with the intention to make her change what her favorite is." So, a couple of days after that one, OP has another update and says, "Good morning y'all. A couple of days ago, I made a post at 3 o'clock in the morning to confess to doing my roommate's dishes because I secretly love to watch her do a happy dance when she sees her favorite mug is clean for her to use again. That post changed our lives. And I'm only being a little dramatic by saying that. I gotta say thanks to everyone who upvoted and commented on my original post. I'm still shook at just how many people read about me and my mug happy best friend. The amount of people saying my post made them smile or reminded them of their own friendships or significant others has kept me smiling for days. I'm kind of into making people happy, if that wasn't already obvious. So, the fact that so many people had even a moment of positivity because of me has been awesome. When I made that original post, it was because I just wanted to tell someone about the mug dancing. But I knew Gwen wouldn't like it if I told anyone we knew. So, I came to Reddit to shout to the void. And oh boy, did the void shout back. There were so many comments asking if I really thought we were just friends. And I'll be honest, when I made that post, we absolutely were just friends. We'd never talked about being more than friends, and I was happy being friends because we have an amazing friendship. Hadn't really thought about there being a possibility for more because dating was always something I planned to do when I had my life together or when I had more money. I never let myself consider what I was missing out on by waiting for the right time. Her finding my post opened the chance for Gwen and I to talk about things that we hadn't before. And over breakfast that morning, we found out where we stood with each other and what we thought things could look like moving forward, depending on what we both agreed was the best course. We didn't make any solid plans or decisions and didn't want to rush into something that would ruin the good we already had going for us. But I'll admit I was hoping for a specific outcome. There was one comment on the first post that had really caught my attention. To paraphrase, they told me to think about how I'd feel if someone else got to see Gwen do a happy mug dance instead of me. And it hit me so hard. I didn't mind the idea of someone else seeing her so happy. I just don't know if anyone else she dates would notice what I did and decide to do what I did. What if they didn't care or didn't think it was that important or any of the other things I do to make her laugh or smile? I really didn't like the thought of not being there to make sure she has that extra reason to smile in the morning. Gwen wants me to admit that I'm a sappy, because I teared up writing this. I'm a sensitive man in touch with my emotions and you know you love it. Oh, shut it you to all the people saying it's possible for platonic relationships to be like ours. You're absolutely correct. Our friend group is very open with physical and verbal affection and we help each other all the time with big and small things. We all say I love you to each other. It's just normal communication for us as a group, not just between Gwen and I. Honestly, if I hadn't made my original post, I'm not sure when or if we had gotten to the point we are now. Maybe we would have continued as we were and that would have been just as happy of an outcome, just a different one. Like choose your own adventure with multiple options for a good resolution. Which brings me to the actual update. Gwen and I agreed we want to try dating. We aren't putting a new label on our relationship yet, but our first date is next week. I'm making it all a surprise. Gwen helped me write this post and will be reading the comments, so I can't give any details. It's going to be the best first date she's ever been on or I eat my candy corn pattern socks. I think she might be the one for me and I'm going to take every chance I can to make sure she thinks the same about me. Do something kind for your loved ones for us and then everyone can and should find something to happy dance about. It makes life more fun. Love, Gwen and Peter. So, a commenter says to OP after this one, yippee, it finally happened. I'm so happy for you two and kind of jealous too. I have a friend that makes me really happy, but the chances of us dating is close to zero. So, I hope everything goes well for you two and please promise me that and especially her that if it doesn't work, you remain being friends because your relationship is really pure. Thank you for the update. Opie says, yeah, we're definitely being very cautious about taking this step. There'll be lots of conversations and checking in to make sure we don't mess things up. Commenter says, the only thing I can say to both you is this. You have a charming innocence around you. Don't take it for granted. Be aware of it, treasure it and nurture it. This doesn't have to end, and it can get better. Always assume the best of each other. Be kind and don't be passive-aggressive or hold grudges. Opie says, we both come from pretty dysfunctional families. Half of us don't even talk to each other. And I haven't seen my mother in years. Thank the Lord for small mercies. Long. So when we agreed to be roommates, respectful communication became our top priority. Cum says, this isn't quite on topic, but OP, how did you find such an empathetic and close group of friends? I've always wanted that and have a hard time connecting with people. It sounds really wholesome. EAP responded saying, so the people who started our group were 3 buddies. They were friends all through middle and high school and stuck together after. Everyone else had been added to the group after being vetted. We invite people to hang out a few times with the group. If we feel they'll be a good fit, we keep inviting them. It's like a big club, but doing it this way makes sure only people who mesh well enough with everyone are added. Gwen was pretty much part of the group when I was invited to a movie night. That was the first time we met. I can't tell you how to meet people that you'll connect with. I'm sorry. The person who invited me was someone I work with. We went for drinks after a couple times before she asked me if I wanted to go to a movie night. Her friends were planning and I didn't have anything better to do. You just need to be willing to talk to strangers until they aren't strangers anymore and see if they are someone you think will be a positive influence in your life. Opie also adds, the best advice I can give you is to want change. If you aren't happy for the love of all that's holy, change. Sit down with your partner and say that you aren't happy and that things need to change. Figure out if you want change together and be a team against the issues, or if things will be better off with you going your separate ways. Ending a relationship does not erase all the good times you've had with them, but it opens the doors for the potential of new good times with someone else. It will only get harder the longer you wait. You deserve peace and happiness, even if it means it's not with this person. They also deserve peace and happiness. I wonder if you approach it from that angle of saying that you're unhappy and you feel like they're unhappy too, and you want to team up to figure this out. The more you build it up in your head to the point where you feel it's not worth trying. You are worth it. They are worth it. And the majority of the comments after this one, and it's always with a wholesome post like this, is like, now's the time to turn off Reddit or maybe YouTube in this case. But what do you guys make of this situation? And let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Snoo Seagulls 4821 and it says, entitled neighbor really did try to steal my parents' plant. I cannot believe it. I must have met a lot of entitled people, but never this entitled. It all started this morning. My parents love to plant flowers on their yard. From hibiscus to water lily, their most prized and pride is definitely the bougainvilleas. This morning, my mom went to water the plants and feed the koi fishes. Enter my elderly neighbor around 80+ years old. They were having a conversation and it goes like this. The neighbor says, "Can I have your bougainvilleas? 2 of them." Mom was confused and said, "As in cutting some to put in a vase?" "Sure." Neighbor replied, "No, I want to plant them in my yard." Mom said, "I'm not sure if the plant can grow after cutting. I will ask a gardener opinion. If I can cut it for you." Neighbor replied, "No, just dig out yours and put it in my yard. I have 2 empty holes and thought of your plants." Mom said, "What?" Neighbor said, "I like the red ones. When can you dig them up and put them in my yard?" Mom says, "I just bought those. I cannot give you those yet because it is still in the process of growing." Neighbor says, "Then let it grow in my yard. No need to wait for it to grow." Mom was getting frustrated and said, "Sorry, but no. If you want to, please go and buy the plant at the shop." The neighbor kept insisting my mom, even dragging my dad, to give it to him for free. When they would not budge, he kept cursing and left. What? Update? That neighbor decided to injure my other neighbor's dog. Full update. When he came back from the veterinary clinic, Bam said to this one, "Keep an eye out. There is a good chance that you're going to wake up to 2 holes in your flower bed." No Heat says, and the neighbor have 2 lovely bougainvilleas in their yard. Reddit says, such a coincidence. Lopsided Disaster says, dementia. Ethan replied that saying, "Yes, this sounds 100% like someone who is suffering from dementia. We revert slowly and brutally to childhood. Think about a conversation with a 3-year-old. I want siblings' toys. You can't have it yet. It's hers and she's playing with it. Ask her if you can play with it when she's done. Reply, but I need it now." Now, think about what's going on here. In essence, the same. A lot of posts here or in Boomers Being Fools have this vibe to me. Absolutely. With some of those comments, I can see the logic in those that it is bizarre behavior, especially if you've seen nothing like this before, for this neighbor to come over to you and just demanding your plants in that kind of way. No talking about it. No. "Oh, did you get them from the local garden center or anything like that? Just give me your plants, put them in my yard," and then to go on and injure a dog is escalating in itself, right? My first immediate thought, that was someone who was speaking to me. I would want to speak to their family and find out if there's anything else going on. But absolutely, there's a chance it's just going to be entitlement. We have seen it time and time again. So, of course, OP needs to protect themselves and their property, of course. But around a week or so later, OP did come in with the update and says before the update, I'd have to give some history of this elderly. He's known around the neighborhood as grumpy, selfish, entitled, and OCD. Always parked his car, sweep the floor, throw garbage, etc. to his beside neighbor. They always confront him so many times, but he insisted he did nothing wrong. Even worse, his 80+-year-old wife also begs for forgiveness regarding everything he did. Regarding the dog had to be admitted in the veterinary clinic. He broke the poor girl's tooth. He shoved his walking stick in her mouth. She was in her own yard resting. The elder, he walked into their yard, fenced, and that spooked the dog. She is a French bulldog. She barged at him and he shoved his walking stick in her mouth. Caught on CCTV. So, they decided to have a conversation with my parent as witness. The entitled neighbor's wife will be representing him because he did not want to come out of the house. It goes like this. The wife says, "I'm so sorry, Mr. N, the dog owner, for causing so much problems." Mr. N says, "How are you going to fix this? He already keeps throwing his garbage into my yard. but I didn't say anything because of his age. Now, what did my dog do? Wife replies saying, he says your dog keeps barking whenever he walks by your house, so he was annoyed and decided to punish it. Mr. N says, my dog is in my property. What right does he have? The wife says, please forgive him. He's old. Plus, a dog's life is not equal to a human. Dearie me. Yes, that is what she said. They keep arguing while my parents tried to calm them down before authorities get involved. In the end, they decided to cool down first. Was hoping and that was the end. But no, it gets much worse. My parents' plants started to wilt one by one. They were distraught and confused until son of the entitled neighbor came and apologized. Turns out he did try to steal not just the boers but also moth orchids. He cut their roots and now it's dying. We'll update later because my parents will be having a meeting with a whole family and neighborhoods. Comment says on this one, this is trespassing, destruction of property, and animal abuse. The dude is a menace and needs to be held accountable. Opie says the problem is the entitled neighbor's family keeps excusing it, saying, if we did sue, we are elderly abusing him. Avon says, but you aren't. That's just blatantly false. Him being old doesn't excuse him facing consequences for animal abuse and property destruction. Storm Tomcat says, on the contrary, if he's in full possession of his mental capacities, he's a bully and the family deserves a break from him. And if he's too old to know what he's doing, the family are in fact the ones abusing him by letting him run rampant and depriving him of proper care. Ice the Precious says, lol, exactly this. They want to play that game. Let's play that game. Same with a wife claiming that the dog's life isn't equal to a human's. Lady, do you know how many people think the elderly aren't worth the air that they breathe? At least a dog is considered man's best friend. So then OP came in with another update and said, hey guys, sorry for the late update. Been so hectic with life and the neighbor that I completely forgot about my account. Don't know if any of you remember the previous post. I'll link it here. And shares a link. Also, thank you so much for the replies and advice. I read almost all of them and made consideration of my choices that I have. Before the updates, I would like to answer some questions. 1. Why is he not in an old folks' home? Because his whole family, and I mean all 7 sons, 1 daughter, 3 daughter-in-laws, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren live in the same house. The ones with family don't live there except during the weekends, holidays. Whenever there is any disturbance, all of them will be involved. So, you can see why people tolerate with this elderly man. 2. The authorities have been involved before, but because all of them can look after him, he's healthy and mentally okay, it is out of their jurisdiction. 3. My parents just moved to this area around 1 year ago, and most folks that live in the area are old folks. Because my parents are still new, they don't really have a say in the people that live there for generations. As in, we live here for more longer than you, and no one was bothered. Why now? Since I've answered some questions, onto the update. My neighbor, whose dog lost her teeth, filed a police report and are planning to sue them. The meeting tried to solve the problem peacefully, but because one of the sons is a gang leader, he brought his whole gang to the meeting as well. I think you can all imagine the chaos that was brought into this mess. The dog owner brought photos and a video of the incident, including mine where it clearly shows that he dug up the plant, but they keep trying to play it down and make it not a big deal. But the dog owner is not someone to play with as well. He literally says in front of them, then this will be settled in court since you all don't want to take responsibility or making compensation for the mess your old man did. Mr. C, my dad, I will pay for your lawyer fees too. Let's sue him for both of our problems. That's how the meeting goes. The son was not willing to take responsibility, and my neighbor is not backing down. The elderly man hasn't shown his face since the meeting. I guess he knew he screwed up really badly. Oh, and recently he fell when trying to clean his cabinet. He hit his head pretty badly that needs to be hospitalized for a few days and stitches. Karma, I guess. And OP did add a video of this old dude sticking his cane through the neighbor's garden, poking at the dogs, and obviously a lot of people telling OP to be careful after this, especially when it was mentions of gangs being involved. Maybe get some CCTV, all that sort of stuff to protect yourself. I guess they're already trying to be intimidating by the whole gang turning up to this meeting. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Queen of Moths from the Entitled People subreddit, and it says, actually expecting me to clean up after my pet makes you entitled. Man, I'm still trying to process an exchange I had this morning. I was sitting on my balcony having breakfast, and there was this woman I've never spoken to walking her dog. We don't know her, but my roommate and I see her down there pretty much every day. She's around our age, I would guess. So, either in her 30s like Ursula or maybe in her 40s. We've never exchanged so much as a hello up to this point. Now, I really like my apartment complex. It's cute and pleasant to walk around. And the only thing that really sucks is when people don't clean up after their dogs. It's so freaking gross. And I hate when people don't do it. You're a grown-up who made a choice to have a pet that comes with responsibilities that you have to keep up with. Most people around here do clean up after their dogs that I've seen. So, we know it's just a few rotten eggs. If I see people who don't look like they're doing it, I call them out, which I know comes with risks, but come on people. The response is sometimes defensive, sometimes a bit of twisting the truth, like, oh, I was just going to. But they all know they should be doing it. Anyway, this woman has her dog right by our balcony, and my friend and I were just chatting until I noticed the woman walking away without cleaning it up. So, I said in a tone more polite than the situation probably merited, "Excuse me, are you going to clean up after your dog?" And she says in this snotty voice, "No, I'm good, thanks." I immediately burst out laughing, though not the good-humored kind, because I couldn't believe the audacity. I said, "Wow, that's really pathetic," which apparently is more than she expected me to do because she came marching back. I have to imagine most people don't call this woman out. For her to have that kind of immediate vitriol makes me think she's that kind of spoiled just in general and was angry I'd embarrassed her. But she clearly knew I was right because she had to come back and double down. So, she comes running at us with this kindergarten logic and goes, "I'm not the only one who doesn't clean up after my dogs. Lots of people don't clean up after their dogs." And I was like, so, how does that absolve you of adding to the problem? She keeps going on about how other people do it too. So, I said, "Cool, then give me their names. Let's have a list because I don't see any of them right now." And she's like, "Open your eyes and figure it out for yourself." I was like, that's what I'm doing right now. She keeps shouting that she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to and she doesn't care what I think. So, I was like, holy crap, I've never met such an entitled person. It's insane to me that you're getting this angry over someone expecting basic decency out of you. And she says, "No, you're entitled." I burst out laughing again and said, "I clean up after my animals. Me telling you I don't appreciate you leaving messes on our shared property doesn't make me entitled. You're a grown-ass woman who knew what responsibilities she'd have when she got a pet. There are tons of people who don't want to see your dog's crap. You're not the main character." At this point, I feel like this woman has never been confronted beyond her first snarky response, and I have a bubbly and friendly tone normally. So, she probably had expected to have scared me or shocked me into silence with that callous initial reaction because she is practically melting down trying to upset me while my friend and I laughed. She gave me a snarky "have a nice day" and I wished her the same in an equal tone. Then she waddled off. And no, that's not me calling her fat. She was actually really fit. She just walked in a very exaggerated cartoonish way like Jessica Rabbit or some crap. I thought she was going to be snarky, but my friend says she just always walks like that. We took a short video of her. Sadly, not of the incident itself, as we had to go grab our phones, and I plan to take it to the front office just to let them know. It is only step one. I doubt anything will be done with just this, but this has been driving me crazy, and I'm ready to start holding rude people accountable. Fortunately, I can use the corporate offices if the people here don't start to put pressure on people who are blatantly breaking their lease. It's right in there that you have to clean up after your animals. I'm not trying to get anyone evicted, but I'm hoping she at least feels the pressure to act like a grown-up and take care of her pets. Like, I wouldn't cry if she got a fine or something. Seriously though, it's painful to me that people like this even exist. She was so confident that she was somehow in the right that she didn't even try to lie about it. Like, "Woman, you aren't 12. The other people do it" argument isn't going to hold up in court. Lol. I caught a glimpse of a comment mentioning that some people have to submit DNA of their pet. So, if there's a dog turd that's been left somewhere, they can get a DNA sample and send it off to a lab and then that person gets charged for the lab test and a fine for the dog mess itself. I mean, it's a good plan. I just never heard of them doing that before. I was like, wow. Stardust says wild. I don't live at a complex, but there's a trail near my house, and I thank my lucky stars. They keep trash bags I can grab for my dog now because before I'd have to grab leaves when I forgot to bring bags, and my brain remembered water and Tupperware to hydrate my dog. I've had to get diarrhea poop off trails with leaves, which is the worst. She has a sensitive stomach, but I can't imagine leaving poop right in front of someone. I'd be embarrassed. Opie says, yeah, there are bag dispensers in 3 spots around the main square, so they don't even have to go back to get them. It's just laziness and entitlement. But yeah, while things like that suck for sure, there are always instances where they weren't facing that kind of problem. I'm glad you're a good dog owner. I feel like going out of my way to praise people for basic decency when I see it. But OP came in with an update and said, so yesterday I posted about having a nasty encounter with a neighbor of mine who is apparently too good to pick up after a dog. She made sure to let me know that I was the entitled one for not wanting dog poop all over the property. And she made sure to toss in some classist remarks, expecting maintenance people to clean it up. Someone suggested in the comments that she might be the pathetic sort to come back and intentionally try to provoke us. I thought for sure she wouldn't be that dumb. Turns out I was the fool for giving her that much credit. But it's a good thing she did because I got a great video of her. I'm not going to upload it for a number of reasons, but I might if she tries to do it to me. It played out in entitled Loser 101 to a degree that it almost felt unreal. I can't believe people like this truly exist. She came by, intentionally brought her dog right beneath our balcony this time and waited. I was like, cool. Let's record. So, we sit there. She waits for her dog to poop. Then, she starts to walk away. Of course, proof. Thank you. However, as she walked away, she saw I was recording and turned back. She started shrieking. "Oh my God, are you trying to record me? You know that's illegal, right?" I said, "Yes, I am. It's not illegal. You're in a public place." She starts yelling at me to mind my own business and that none of this concerns me. I told her that it did concern me because I live here too, and I don't want a poop-cold apartment complex, nor do any of the other residents, I would imagine. She told me I didn't own the complex like that makes it okay. Do you, Mom? We had a back and forth and she started recording me back telling me threatening things like thanks for exposing yourself, implying that she's going to dox me and put it online. Hopefully nothing comes of that just because I want my privacy, but I haven't done anything wrong so I'm not worried about it otherwise. When that didn't upset me as she clearly intended, she started trying to insult me and it was hilarious. "This is probably because of your weight." My best friend and I burst out laughing. She called me a fat bee, so I started recording again to catch anything else she might say. She told me she was reporting me and I told her to please do it so they'd know who she was when I report her. It was freaking bonkers. This woman is a nightmare. I'm actually worried this is going to escalate into something even worse, but I guess we'll see. So, the second she left, we took the video down to the front office. I showed it to one of the landlords who was appalled. I mentioned the day before and how that had gone down and I verified that she was indeed breaking her lease. Also, the landlord thanked me for policing people who just leave dog poop behind. She said they've been trying to get people to take responsibility and it's turning into a real issue. After that, she gave me her email and asked me to send her the videos. I did so and now we'll see how it unfolds. I also told her that the woman threatened to report me, so she may actually call in herself and unintentionally turn herself in. I also mentioned worrying about potential retaliation so that it's just out there. If she calls the cops, I fortunately have video so she won't be able to make up anything about me harassing her or something. I've been told not to engage with her if she comes back again, but to just contact the office and tell them that she's here. I really don't know what to expect. I just wanted to enjoy a nice morning on my balcony. I'm seriously blown away. All this because someone asked you to pick up your dog's poop. What is this world coming to? Ultra Cyborg says, glad the apartment complex is taking action against her. Opie says, same. I had no idea what to expect. I was so relieved talking to her. She was pissed, especially when I mentioned the part about her saying the maintenance people can just do it. I was worried they just brush it off, but they're taking it seriously. Katana says, honestly, this infuriates me. I'm a responsible pet owner. I've never not picked up my dog's poop, even if she goes on the vacant lot that is on our route. Opie says, that's honestly one of the things that pisses me off the most. She's making other dog owners look bad. I know most dog owners are responsible and aren't entitled like this, but people remember the rude jerks more. It makes me so sad. He came in with one more update, which was titled Potentially Hopefully Final Update on Dog Poop Girl. Hey guys, sorry it's been a while. I know a lot of people have been wanting an update. Unfortunately, it's not as exciting as some of you were hoping for, but I'm actually happy with how things went down. So, the very next day, Dog Poop Girl showed up again, but this time she didn't come over near our balcony. I don't know if someone in her life told her she was going to get in trouble or what, but it seemed clear she still wanted us to know she was just fine with what had happened. I emailed the landlords as they requested and said she was outside right now, etc. The office thanked me and then I never heard from them again. The next day, a different woman was walking her dog. I thought that was kind of weird, but I figured maybe she hired someone so she could leave that job to someone beneath her. For around a month or two, I think I can't remember the full timeline. We didn't see her and we could only speculate. Maybe she lived with her boyfriend here. One of my roommates said she saw her with a guy and he told her to stop staying over if she was going to cause problems. Maybe she got the fine and threw a temper tantrum and left. I figured she also could just be avoiding our side of the property. It was hard to say, but I was just glad to not have to deal with her. Finally, a couple of weeks ago, I was heading to the other side of the property and I saw her with her dog. So, she's still here. Clearly just avoiding our side of the complex and that is more than fine with me. No idea what went down throughout that period, and I'm not sure I ever will. I did notice she seemed to have dog poop bags with her this time, though, lol, I can only speculate that they caught her, fined her, and told her that there'd be more fines after that. I don't know what happened, but they took some sort of action with the dog owners in our building because I now see every dog owner walking around with bags. The dog poop problem has gotten much better. Maybe knowing their neighbors were watching and tired of their nice walk-in area being covered in excrement motivated them to be more responsible. Here's hoping it stays at this level. I really don't like having confrontations, but I'm also not really one to put up with other people's crap. Hey, figuratively or literally. I know that some of you were hoping for a big explosion or some juicy details. Can we not say big explosion or juicy details of talk at dog poo regarding this woman being put in her place? I'm personally just glad to not have to see her anymore. She never tried to retaliate, thankfully, and I'm guessing people in her life let her know she was digging her own grave. Actually wonder if part of why she avoids us completely is so that we don't see that she's being forced to pick up poop now, which is a hilarious thought. If anything else suddenly happens, I promise to update again. But as it is, it looks like this has sort of quietly sold itself. I do kind of wish I knew more details just out of my own nosiness. But we can at least all be satisfied with the fact that she was absolutely convinced she was in the right and it blew up in her face. She's probably still awful, of course, but at least someone is holding her accountable. I waited this long to see if anything else happened, but it looks like this might be the end of the story, which I'd honestly prefer. However, if anything comes up again, like I said, I'll let you all know. Thanks for sharing and venting with me while I dealt with a very, very frustrating situation. I appreciated all your comments and support. I used to have a manager when he saw people leaving dog poo on the local field where I used to work. This is the market research place. There's a massive field next to where we used to work and we used to go out there and, just talk away and look at the field on a nice sunny day and just chill out, And there's loads of dog walkers on that field, especially on a sunny day. But my manager at the time, Irish dude, took lovely as you like when you get to know him. But, he comes across as very standoffish. But if he ever saw anyone leaving dog, on the field, holy moly, he was straight over there. And rightfully so. He'd give him a lecture about, kids play on that field as well. I remember someone tried walking away like right in front of us. The dog had a crap, and he clearly never had no bags or anything. My manager said, "Oh, where are you going?" And the guy turned around and was like, "Sorry, what was that?" And he said, "Where are you going? You've just left dog, on the grass." And the guy was muttering, I got no bags. So my manager dude went in and got a plastic carrier bag like from a local supermarket or something. She went, "There you go," and basically just stood over him while he picked up dog, but Alarmed quoted OP saying she's probably still awful. And Alarm says, "Oh, definitely. In my experience, they're not picking up after pets is just a symptom of a much bigger issue with these people. They don't feel any social obligation towards their environment or the people around them, and that's not likely to change." At least she's evidently feeling the pressure over the poop thing though. Congrats. Yeah, and I'd probably agree with that comment just from stuff I've seen in the past. There's probably the tip of the iceberg with her. Probably a right nightmare neighbor to live next to as well. Obviously, I don't know, and I'm just assuming that. But in the end, I'm glad it all worked out for OP. Shaming her and hopefully she did get a fine or two. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Have you ever dealt with a nightmare neighbor like that? Let us know your thoughts. My parents' next-door neighbors are terrible. The wife in particular. When their kids were in school, the mother would sit in the driveway at 6:30 a.m. and honk the horn until they came outside to leave for school. One day, my mom asked if they could refrain from doing that. "Oh, hell no, they can't." Honking continues, and everyone in the house decides to honk several times every time they pull out the driveway just to be pricks. They still continue to do this years later. They accuse my mom of having a garden on their property. My parents have lived there for 25 years. Garden has been there for 25 years. They call a land surveyor who laid out the edges of their property. Sure enough, garden is 4 in over the line. This lady goes nuts, spray paints a huge neon orange line between the yards, digs up the garden, puts a tiny fence in it, and starts storing their trash bins on the area in the back corner of the yard. Super inconvenient if you ask me. Keep in mind that this is a neighborhood with a civic association. You're not allowed to even put up a fence without voted on permission. She accused my parents of putting dog, in their yard. My parents don't have a dog, but this family has 3 wiener dogs that don't get walked. She stomps over to my parents' house and starts screaming. My dad dealt with her. He said she was screaming nonsense and seemed super paranoid that my mom was plotting against them and sabotaging their house. The whole thing is weird. And don't be that guy, says my neighbor at my parents had OCD for sure. He would mow and leaf blow his yard every day. Every single day. If it rained the second it stopped, he would go out there and mow and leaf blow. He would leaf blow his roof. Then he would leaf blow his cars, then wash his cars every day. He either had OCD or hated his wife. He never talked or waved to anyone either. Strange dude. The neighborhood kids did super glue a leaf to his driveway. I wish I was there to see his reaction. Edit. Just to add a bit to clarify, it wasn't like this guy was obsessed with this lawn. In fact, it really wasn't all that nice. Would actually mow it every day. I have some people always outside gardening and but he just mowed and leaf blew every day. There had been the days where the blade of the lawnmower didn't even touch the grass. He would leaf blow the yard despite nothing being on the lawn. It would seriously have been faster for him to just walk over and grab the 4 or 5 leaves that be on his yard on a given day. My family just always dealt with it. It's his yard. He has a right to do whatever he wanted on it. My God, the sound of his leaf blower would just drone on forever. My next-door neighbor blew a gasket on Sunday morning and walked over and yelled at him one day. He stopped and did his daily blow and mow in the afternoon. And Bruce says, "God damn it, my eyes lit up when I saw this one." But there are already 1,100 comments. Anyway, me and some roommates had a neighbor, an old lady and her son who was in his 40s, probably. Honestly, we never did anything that we know of to initially get on their bad side. We'd always be sitting on our front porch drinking beers, and when the son would come home from work, he'd always do the same thing. He wouldn't look at us. He'd just say stuff in this creepy grumbling voice like, "I'm going to cut your dicks off. I'm going to run you over with my car." This was just as he was walking into his house, and he'd always quickly shut the door. He called the cops on our dog for being out in the yard, dog at large, at least 6 times. His mom was once raking leaves in her yard. She raked them into a giant pile next to the fence, then picked them up and threw them over the fence into our yard. Seriously, the same amount of effort would have put the leaves into a bag. But here comes the Cadugra. They were having a yard sale, so we thought we'd with them, thinking they'd behave themselves with customers around. We sat on our porch and just watched all day. The son was getting really aggravated. He would periodically say stuff like, "What are you, looking at?" To which we'd say stuff like, "What are you going to tell your mom on us?" Admittedly childish, but we were sick of this dude. Sick of hearing his, sick of dealing with the cops every other week. A few hours go by, he pulls out a gun and points it at us. My buddy closest to the door ducks inside and calls the cops. Me and my other roommate are on the verge of, our pants totally frozen. The 2 or 3 older ladies browsing their shitty wares are totally shocked, speechless, and petrified. He's yelling a bunch of, I don't remember. He goes back inside in a huff. We run into the house, lock the doors, and wait for the cops. He got arrested. Never saw him again. Move the, out of the neighborhood ASAP. Oh my word. That could have gone so much worse. I mean, I guess the real warning was there when he's mumbling about cutting your dick off. But Lo comes in with a story and says, "I remember little about direct confrontations with this lady, but my parents had a few stories to tell. There was a neighbor that everyone referred to as Betty the, She would do all sorts of, to anyone that lived near her. She once called the cops on a guy for warming up his truck in the dead of the Wisconsin winter. He was disturbing the peace. She'd fluff the handle if she ever heard anyone use profanity. Did you leave your dog out for an hour so it can enjoy the sun? Prepare for cops to come over for the dog that's been barking nonstop for 6 hours and being neglected." Her children were not allowed to interact with those people, being anyone in the neighborhood. And then the doozy. I was maybe 5 or 6 at the time. I was having fun riding my bike up and down the street as young children want to do. Turns out her kids were drawing with chalk all over the road. Massive span the width doodles. I rode my bike over their artwork and she flipped her, ran from her porch over to me and knocked me off my bike. She was screaming insults at me for ruining her children's work. One of my parents saw this, happening and let her have it. I think she was visited by the police, but I can't be certain. She was a "see you next Tuesday." And I always think after a nightmare neighbor video about how many situations go on every single day across the world with neighbor drama like this. And then it always brings me back to my youth and I think about all the people that I met that I was younger. All the different characters that were around the area that I lived in. Each individual there was an archive of stories themselves. I can remember a couple of adults when we were younger who would randomly turn up with massive thick black cabling and we didn't know what it was. We never questioned it either. They were adults. We were playing football. We didn't really care what they were doing. We just thought, they're doing their job, whatever that was. But you'd see them, splitting this big cabling open and pulling out whatever's inside of it, and then checking all the waste into a storage and just taking off the insides of the cabling, which clearly now looking back, they were stealing cabling from the local railways and then selling on the copper. I guess I'm assuming it was copper. But eventually they were arrested and put away for some years because of what they were doing. Apparently I don't know how much they stole, but it was a hell of a lot. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this collection of nightmare neighbor stories? Do you enjoy the nightmare neighbor stories? I know everyone likes something different every once in a while. And of course, do you have your own nightmare neighbor stories? You're more than welcome to share with me directly through email, which you can find on the channel, or post them on r/marknarrations. It's really easy to create a throwaway account if you want to do that as well. Just search it up on Reddit. It's really simple to do, but would love to see your stories for another collection of nightmare neighbors. Our next story comes from Paint Content 6734 from the Relationships subreddit, and it says, "Help. I, 26, female, think my boyfriend, 30 male, is exaggerating or faking his illness. Saw someone's post yesterday about navigating life with a partner who has fibromyalgia and felt inspired to post here. I'm hoping you all can give me some solid advice. I, 26 female, have been with my boyfriend 30 male for a little under 2 years. In the time we've been together, his chronic pain, which isn't connected to any particular/noun condition as he refuses to go to the doctor, has gotten worse and worse. Has reached the point where he's almost incapable of doing chores or house projects. He's usually too exhausted/in pain to make or agree to plans, and getting him to do anything outside of the house together is like pulling teeth. His objections always revolve around his pain and fatigue. I've never suffered from chronic pain, and thank God, so I'm not one to judge or accuse someone of making it up since the pain itself is invisible. My boyfriend looks perfectly healthy, but he's now been unemployed for about 4 months, and I'm starting to question things. I'm starting to feel doubtful for a number of reasons, and the main ones are that he never turns down his friends' invitations to hang out, even when the activity is something physically intense, like kayaking or going hiking or going to a music festival. And B, he's never too tired/in too much pain to have sex. Over time, it's almost made it seem like he's conveniently in an unbearable amount of pain when he has to do something he isn't at all interested in, i.e. chores. And I'm starting to feel hurt that he just doesn't seem to want to hang out with me outside of what we do lazing around the house. I've never accused him of faking or exaggerating his pain, but I have tried to talk to him about doing more fun stuff together. And it always circles back to his pain or him accusing me of trying to keep him from spending time with his friends, which I'm not trying to do by any means. I've done a ton of research into autoimmune disorders and other conditions that could be causing his problems, always bringing my findings and suggestions to him, but he just doesn't believe the doctor or any traditional medicine will help him. I'm also bothered because when we go to family outings or parties that we're both invited to, it's rare, but it does happen. He will talk to anyone who will listen's ear off about how bad his chronic pain is and how frustrating it is not to be able to find a solution. The thing is, he's not actually looking for a solution. He just smokes weed every day and calls that good enough while lamenting and complaining that his body is the way that it is. He also refuses to return to work because of his pain. For additional context, he seems to have really extreme muscle spasms and tightness, particularly in his back. I'm happy to support him through hard times, but the fact that he won't work is getting concerning, and I feel severely stuck. I'm not interested in supporting him financially on a long-standing basis, but at the moment, I partially am by covering some of his expenses. If this post makes me a total for questioning the degree of my boyfriend's chronic pain, so be it. I just need help and answers. So, here's my questions. Where do I go from here? Do you think it's possible that my boyfriend is using his pain as a crutch? Should I put some kind of ultimatum in place that will get him medical care/attention? Your advice is appreciated. So the top commenter on this one, Watermelon Sugar 47, says, even if he does have a chronic illness, he isn't doing anything to get diagnosis or treatment, and he's willing to push on for things that benefit him and only him. He also developed a drug addiction he has no plans of curbing. I'm chronically ill. I'm busting my ass trying to find answers and help because living like this sucks. I do everything in my power to support my partner and care for our home. Or sometimes that's not a ton. I always prioritize contributing to my household over kayaking, which even if I could push through to do, would put me down for a week. This man is using and taking advantage of you. Disabled or not, he has dumped this on you without you consenting to be his financial caretaker. You're not married. There is no in sickness and in healthier. Leave him. Another commenter says, this right here, it's one thing if he was busting his butt trying to find a solution, but he's doing nothing. He's unemployed and not searching for a solution to get him back to work. Is he on unemployment? What are his plans for contributing to the household considering his inability to function? Do you see yourself continuing a life with him? And what would that look like? It's big questions. Do you want kids? Do you want to travel? Is he an excellent homemaker? Going Price for Home says, as someone with chronic pain, even if he wasn't lying, I'd leave him. Chronic pain, _ sucks. I've been there. It's been over 13 years of it. but it kinda just sounds like he's slowly made you into his bangmate. Either he's faking it so he doesn't have to work or do any chores, or he has no interest in improving his situation, which isn't sustainable if the person isn't going to pursue medical help or disability benefits. Magenta says, bang. That covers his bills, no less. Run, OP, run. To which Watermelon replies saying, that's what we call a mummy bangmaid. So, at some point later, OP comes in to update their post and says, thank you to everyone who responded to my post and was so compassionate and kind. It was incredible to hear from so many people who actively battle chronic pain and illness and those with loved ones who do. I hope to continue deepening my empathy towards anyone who is struggling with an invisible illness. On to my update. Armed with some fresh perspectives and some fresh frustrations, lol. I talked to my boyfriend and told him that he needs to see a doctor or I will no longer be able to support him financially and stand by while he remains unemployed and unmotivated to get the help he needs. I also addressed the idea of managing on balancing his energy levels differently so that we're able to share the household responsibilities more effectively, spend quality time together and keep him doing the things he loves with his friends. His response was really bad. He told me that if I'm not willing to step up and clean around the house, something I'm already doing, then there's no use living together and that my efforts to clean at the bare minimum are not good enough for his standards anyway. He was also really mad that I haven't taken the initiative to take care of yard projects and car repairs. He sat there and spouted off a whole list of things I'm not noticing in cleaning. And once again, he was focused on the idea that I don't like his friends / am jealous of them and want him spending less time with them, which isn't true at all. This really stung. He basically brushed over everything I said and focused on my perceived faults. This told me everything I needed to know. Everything I need to know and told him I was leaving. He was just mad. Not sad or hurt at all. I'm still crying excessively over his whole reaction. I still don't know how real or unreal his chronic pain is, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Thank you again, everyone, for your support and kindness. I'm truly at a loss. The commenter said to OP on the back of this one, OP, I remember your first post. I know you're very sad right now and you have a right to be. But don't let grief overstay its welcome. You're so much better off and he just lost his bangmate. Expect him to come crawling back when he realizes you're serious. Don't believe anything he says. This internet stranger is proud of you. He deserves someone who can be your partner regardless of whether they have an illness. That doesn't mean they're critical or cruel. Fiery Valkyrie says, a man, the idea of an unemployed, constantly stoned layout accusing someone else of not stepping up is just mind-boggling. Good for you for not letting him take advantage anymore. Kelly Ocean says, listen to me. You will wait a week or 2 or 4, but he will try to come back to you. You did everything for him. No one else is going to do that while taking on all the financial burdens. Yeah, he's toast. He was absolutely faking it. You don't need to think twice about it. Update us on when he comes crawling back or once his parents are done with him. Good for you. I remember this from the other day and was so upset that you did all this for so long. You're going to be much better off in life and I'm excited for you. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Wreck-It from the Am I Overreacting subreddit and says, am I overreacting by not wanting to go to my father's wedding because of comments his fiancé has made about my autistic younger sister? Hi, everybody. This is written on mobile, so I apologize if this looks odd. So, I, 22 female, talked to my 49 male father the other day. He told me that he and his fiancé, 52 female, have finalized a date for their wedding. In this time, my 21 female sister went no contact with both our dad and his fiancé. Let's call her Lisa. Lisa has never had children. So, when my sister and I were introduced to her, she became very motherly towards us. Even though we are both adults when we met her, my sister is smart, funny, a witty person who does struggle with mental illness due to trauma as well as she is medium support needs autistic. Lisa knows about all of this and previously was very supportive of helping her work through these traumas and grow as a person. But in the past year and a half, things have gotten worse. And Lisa started belittling and mocking my sister during her meltdowns and even has gone as far as telling me that that kid needs to be drugged up after I reached out to Lisa about how to support my sister during these episodes. Now, because of all of this, my sister and I are no contact with Lisa, as well as my sister is no contact with our father, as he has also belittled and mocked her during meltdowns. I should mention that my sister and I were in foster care from the ages of 11 and 12 up until we both aged out of care. My sister has a really good relationship with our foster parents, while I don't, which I'm okay with, cause I'm glad my sister has someone she can call her mom. This is where I feel stuck. My father is really the only parent I have left as my mom left when I was a kid. In the end, my sister was to have a mom. And if I completely cut off my father, I'll be alone. I want to stand with my sister. If she doesn't want to go, then I won't. but part of me wants to just still hold on to having a father. Regardless, if my sister going, I don't really want to support someone who is so ableist and often even racist at times. But going to the wedding and pretending that everything is fine, knowing that my presence is only tolerated. So people were asking OP some questions in the comments. Someone said, not overreacting. Where was your dad when you two were in foster care? He doesn't seem to care about you at all. OP says he was part of the reason why we're in foster care, but it was more so reactive abuse rather than straight up abuse. He's done therapy and anger management courses and claims he's better. Next commenter says, you're not overreacting at all, and your sister is lucky to have you in her life. I'm sorry your father can't or won't stand up for her himself. You're already no contact with his fiancé, so it sounds like going would subject you having to be in her presence anyway. Opie says, I feel more lucky to have her because she's hilarious. Going might just feel worse while also potentially ruining a happy day for my dad. Another commenter says, all you have to do is see your father without the wife. Just go have lunch with him or to see a movie with him, etc. You do not have to be around the wife. You didn't have to interact with the wife much at all if you set that boundary with them. But no, you're not overreacting. Talk to your sister. And yes, medications can help with meltdowns. It took me years to find one that helped that didn't make me drowsy or have the opposite reaction. Not saying Lisa didn't take it too far, especially since she's a racist, but she's not exactly wrong. Sometimes it does help or you gotta keep trying different meds until it does. Opie says, I agree with medication being a lifesaver. I myself have a panic disorder and treat it with medication. My sister is now on meds for anxiety and it really helps her. In fact, she went to the corner store by herself with me on the phone for support for the first time in her life. That was just one of many instances where Lisa made an already difficult situation worse. She has done other things and that was just one example. I really appreciate your feedback though. I'm so glad you found something that helps you. That can often be a long stressful journey. Another commenter says, not the _ for feeling conflicted about going to the wedding. It's tough when family dynamics are strained, especially when it involves someone who should be supportive but ends up being hurtful instead. Standing by your sister in the situation shows a lot of integrity and love. If your gut is telling you that attending the wedding might not be the right move due to how they treated your sister, it's totally valid to listen to that. It's important to protect your mental health and the values you hold dear. Even if it means making tough decisions about family relationships, it's okay to prioritize your and your sister's well-being over attending a wedding, but you won't feel comfortable or respected. So, it was 6 days after that post that OP came in with her update and says, just thought I'd come back here and give everyone an update. I apologize for taking a bit to update. Unfortunately, this isn't a very positive update. On Thursday, I received the invitation to the wedding and had a conversation with my father and I found out that he hadn't even invited my sister whatsoever or even told her about it. After finding that out as half-ass, in my opinion, reasons why he didn't invite her, I decided not to go to the wedding. That ended in a huge fight and a lot of hurtful things were said and I've decided to completely cut contact with him and Lisa. After talking to him, I called my sister and let her know what happened without getting into too much detail and stressing her out. And she thanked me for always standing up for her. While it has been difficult and there's been a lot of tears, I think I made the right choice. And my partner and roommates agree and they could see every time I talked to my father, it would end in me having a meltdown. I'm thankful for everyone who left a comment. I make sure to read every single one and I appreciate everyone taking the time to read my previous post. Hope everyone has a wonderful spring. Commenter said to that one, you made the right call. Family can be toxic and it's clear you were looking out for your sister. Cutting ties for your mental health was necessary. Another commenter says, I just read your original post. You stated if you didn't go to the wedding, you'd lose your father and be alone. Oh, you made the right decision because sometimes not having any parent in your life is better than having an ableist _ parent in your life. And you're not alone. You have your sister who you rightfully prioritized. Your father abandoned you, leaving you in foster care to age out. Who was the one constant in your life? Your sister. You did the right thing. You backed the one person who has always been there for you and got rid of the extra baggage that is your low-life father. You didn't find this update to be a good one because you wanted to believe your father is a good person. He's not OP. So, you are much better off even though you can't see it. This is a great resolution because your father showed you his true colors and made sure you knew he was not someone you want or need in your life. Kudos for standing up for your sister rather than support the union of two grossly ableist people, including the father that very literally abandoned you and your sister for years. And like always when we see situations like this, I can only imagine how difficult it is to have those feelings and recognizing the type of person your father is and cutting them out. But I always like to think about the long term for OP and the sister cutting these people out of their lives. I can only think of it as being like freeing, removing toxic people like that. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the _ subreddit from Evil Lawyer 2010, and it says, Am I the _ for causing my neighbor to pay for damages his trampoline caused today? Around 5 p.m., I got text messages from our great next-door neighbor who said that a trampoline came flying in a storm and damaged our fence/bee barn behind our house. I accessed our security system via my cell phone and found out the trampoline came from the neighbors across the street, Nas or Nas. We're not friends with Nas, but up to this point I've had no problems with them. I inspected the damage and our fence was destroyed, almost knocked flat. The trampoline hit the barn so hard it dented the metal walls and broke 2 panels on the garage door. There were all sorts of other minor scraping along the sides of the barn. As I was surveilling the damage, the husband Naz came walking up the driveway. He did not appear concerned and more annoyed than anything. I held our broken gate open for him to enter the yard and look at the damage with me. After reviewing the damage together, he asked me what I wanted to do about the damages. I was still a little shocked and said, well, your trampoline caused the damages. You're responsible. I'm guessing the damage is between $5 to $10,000. The fence was decorative aluminum to appear like wrought iron and the damaged section was 4 to 5 panels and cost us approximately $4,000 3 years ago. The garage door was insulated and was around $3,000 2 years ago. I have no idea how to estimate the cost to repair the dented, scrape, and damaged metal wall to the barn, which again is only 2 years old. Nas said, well, it's damage to your property. You should put the damage through your insurance. I was shocked and incredulous at the audacity of this person. I told him, I'm an attorney. I actually am in my state. Your failure to secure your trampoline caused it to fly into my yard and destroy my fence and damage my barn. I'm not putting a claim on my insurance. I don't want my premiums to increase. Have great insurance and an umbrella due to the ponds on the property and have a separate rider for the barn just to be safe. Due to my profession, I made sure I have great insurance. I told him I can either get quotes to fix the damages that you can pay or you can make a claim against your homeowner's insurance. He said, well, I'm not paying cash and not making a claim against my insurance. This was an act of God. I said to him, okay, I'm sorry you see it that way. My firm sues around 200 cases per week. Not a brag, a fact. Suing one more next week will not be difficult. That is when Naz finally agreed to put his homeowners on notice and exchange his phone number with me. Several colleagues and my mentors said he probably never put the trampoline on his insurance and an unreported trampoline can lead to cancellation of Naz homeowner's insurance. Am I the _ for insisting Naz pay for the damage caused by their trampoline flying onto my property one way or the other? Umbalad says on the back of this one, not the _ act of God doesn't mean not my problem. Wynn didn't launch a properly secured trampoline like a missile. It was negligence. His failure to secure it made it a hazard. And now he's trying to dodge accountability. He doesn't get to offload the cost onto your insurance just because he doesn't want his premiums going up. Lucas of the North Star says not the _ as it only makes sense that they should take responsibility when their property causes damages to your own. However, what gets me is you write you're an attorney OP. So why are you even posting here about this situation? As I feel like you of all people should know regardless of if you look like the _ or not. Your property is your property and if someone else damages it and it's hell and high water or trampolines, I say this in a joking manner. In my opinion and hypothetically asking, aren't all attorneys by law you're the _ joking? Please don't sue me though. Seriously, you did remind me my trampoline isn't fully secure as I took the bricks off it during the winter for other projects. And one more comment from Exciting Peanut 1526 who says, Notley, _ his poor planning and execution is not your problem. Honestly, if he didn't want to involve insurance, he should have opted to pay out of pocket because his insurance may drop him or raise his rates or refuse to pay. Then he's still left paying out of pocket. But now, what do you guys make of this one? I've seen some videos around of those trampolines flying in all sorts of crazy weather, but what do you guys make of it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Carlast who says, am I the _ for trying to get my neighbors to not block my front door? I, 32, female, live in New York City. I recently moved into a small building, 3 stories, 6 apartments in total. My apartment is a ground floor unit. From Move-In, a neighbor, 40 female and 40 male, has been storing a large stroller in front of my front door, which poses problems every time I have to come and go from my apartment. It is also against fire code and explicitly forbidden in the building leases. The stroller is there every day unless their kid 3 male decides he doesn't want to walk. One day when I heard them leaving it there, I introduced myself and politely said them leaving their stroller there was causing the issues and it's against the city's fire code and asked them to no longer keep their stroller in front of my front door. But the 40-male neighbor straight up raised his voice at me while I was holding my infant daughter. The woman said as a compromise she'd fold the stroller while leaving it in front of my door. As time went on, the stroller was never folded up and continued to block my door. As it's against fire code and explicitly forbidden in the lease, I decided to reach out to the property management for help resolving this issue. I just want to be able to safely come and go from my apartment. The day the property management enforced this on these neighbors, the 40 female neighbor rang my doorbell and proceeded to refuse to speak to me and called her mother. Her mother then buried me on speakerphone and said I should have spoken to them first, ignoring me when I said I did. She then kind of threatened me, saying, I complained about the wrong people. I was stunned and couldn't believe this was happening. All I could muster was insisting it is against fire code and no one gets to break fire code. I'm baffled by this behavior. I found it a bizarre confrontation and didn't know adults could act this way. I've never had issues with neighbors before. I had a child younger than theirs and empathize with their situation, but their kid is massive and able to walk. They could just have an umbrella stroller like I do. I just wanted to access my front door. Am I the underscore now? This is a not the underscore to me? It sounds like you tried to be reasonable all the way through this. You spoke to them directly. You explained the issue. They said that they'd fold it down, which, you seemed like you were sort of on board with, but they continue to not follow through with that. And it's not just about the convenience as well. It's like you pointed out again, it's a safety issue. If there was an emergency and that stroller's blocking your door, it could be dangerous. Was a strange-ass behavior, though, that she called her mom to then complain about you. That was weird in itself, right? But OP edited their post and says, I appreciate the outside perspective. I didn't think I was the underscore, but I do have hardcore people-pleasing tendencies and it was very clear my actions hurt people's feelings and it gave me self-doubt. The reason I engaged with the mother on the phone at all is bizarre too. It's all too weird and I'm reeling a little lol. The 40 female neighbor has an unusual way of speaking. Haven't been able to work it out if it's an accent or what. When she put her mother on the speakerphone, I had a sinking thought that maybe the 40 female neighbor is deaf and needs someone to talk for her. And I felt bad that maybe I'd made a deaf person feel victimized when they can't speak up for themselves. But she clearly wasn't deaf as her mother was on the speakerphone with no video and she had zero issues following the conversation. Apart from this incident and the other shitty neighbor stuff, this woman and her man have pulled. They seem like normal functioning adults. The man does not have an unusual way of speaking. I don't think her unusual way of speaking is really a factor in whether I'm the underscore, and I've been so eager to be polite and respectful. It became clear pretty quickly the phone call wasn't really about helping in communication, but just messy people expressing their anger as much as possible. But yeah, that's why I let the phone call happen. Messy says, not the underscore. Why didn't you just close the door on these underscore? Just report them again for harassment to property management. Start videoing any interaction with them. Opie says 100%. I was kicking myself for not recording it. It wasn't a long interaction, but it went on too long. I kept hoping I could make it rational. I'd recommend to anyone recording interactions if you think it might get pear-shaped. Another commenter says, lol, I'm sorry, honey. I'm not laughing at you or an obviously frustrating situation, but the neighbor came to your door to have a mother confront you by phone. Sometimes people are just so unbelievably ridiculous it just makes you laugh. Not the underscore. Opie says it's a funny situation. I'm still in disbelief that it happened. Commenter says, not the underscore. The getting mom on the phone tells you all you need to know about the maturity of a 40-year-old person. Another commenter says, you're much nicer than I would have been. When they didn't comply with a polite request, I would have chucked the stroller outside. Another commented, not the underscore, but I would consider telling the property manager you've been threatened. Of course, that could escalate and make things worse, but you're being bullied. I try to get out of the lease and move. So, around a month later, OP comes in with the update and says, so, it's been almost a month, and I'm pleased to say the stroller has not been in front of my door since the events in my original post. Luckily, I've not run into them in the hallways or experienced real fallout. I heard the man a couple of times tell his kid that's where the snitches live. And I think the mother from the phone call was in the building once and I heard her call me a underscore outside my door. The woman neighbor also stuck her middle finger up at my front door a few times. That petty behavior stopped pretty quickly and they seem to have gotten over themselves. I'm not bothered by their silly little insults. The neighbors also started using an umbrella stroller pretty soon after my original post. I'm glad they have finally taken the responsibility for their own belongings and used a little bit of troubleshooting to work their problems out. I didn't end up putting a video doorbell as commenters suggested on the original post. I don't think I had to. As it turns out, they just needed to get over themselves, get a handle on their emotions. I'm actively avoiding them though, but that has been easy so far. So, yeah, a bit of a boring update, but that is the best outcome. I'm just enjoying having space to come and go from my apartment. Someone asked OP for some info. They said, I'm having trouble reconciling these two statements. 1. The woman neighbor also stuck her middle finger up at my front door a few times. And 2. I didn't end up putting a video doorbell. Without video, how would you know someone is flipping off your door? Opera says, yep, I didn't have the camera, so I watched through the peephole. Bit of a creeper move, but I was feeling the paranoia. EAB gives an explanation of how a door is set up. Did she have to push the stroller out of the way to get to the door? Opie says yes. I couldn't stand in front of where my lock is and unlock my door without moving it. I have my own stroller and I couldn't get in or out of my door with a stroller without moving theirs. My door opens into my apartment, so the door could swing open and shut, but I couldn't come and go without their stroller being in the way. But the commenter says, I'm just going to say from experience with jerk neighbors. Don't expect the peace to last. People like that tend to fall back into their old patterns. He wouldn't even look at me. When it was time to get our food, he immediately goes towards the exit. I followed and tried to catch up to him, but couldn't find him. I texted him twice and called him a couple of times, but got no answer. So, I went back to the reception. After not hearing from him for about an hour and a half or so, he returns, sits down, and doesn't even look at me. The rest of the night was terrible. He looked like his dog just died. And I'm trying to make the best out of the night. I felt like I was just his shadow. I was prepping for a breakdown or maybe a fight in the car, but the only thing he said was, I don't want to talk about it right now. And the drive was just quiet and awkward. He sent me a long text about how hard it was to get the ring, how he felt rejected by his closest person, and that I embarrassed him. I tried to explain that it's not that I didn't want to marry him. It was our best friend's wedding and he deserved their moment, that we should create our own and not piggyback off theirs. He got offended and said that if I wanted to marry him, I wouldn't have stopped this proposal in front of everybody. This situation perplexes me. I've never seen the appeal of proposing at someone else's wedding and tried to handle the situation in a way that I felt was calm and chill, but he's very adamant that I ruined the proposal, made him look like an underscore, and thus I'm the underscore. Am I missing something? Should I admit I was wrong and have just let his proposal go at our friend's wedding? I always find like surprise public proposals in general is a bit off anyway. I mean, if you know someone wants that, if you know they're 100% going to say yes, then I think that's one thing. But to just spring this on someone, it puts them in a tough spot straight away. But doing this at someone else's wedding as well, double whammy. You were right, this day was about them, and doing this is stealing that attention away from them. People who has likely spent thousands on their day, and it also puts you in an impossible position. So you were right to do what you did in that situation in my opinion, and the saying to you if you wanted to marry me guilt trip is just manipulative. You can absolutely want to marry someone and also want the proposal that isn't, taking over someone else's day at the same time, but Live says not the underscore. It was bad taste for him to propose at the wedding. It would have been unfair to the bride and groom, not to mention Tacky needs to get over it and move on. Out of all the possible scenarios to propose, he chose the worst options. He did the right thing by stopping him. No one knew he was going to propose, so he shouldn't feel embarrassed. Opie says, I did try to tell him that. Our friends, the literal hosts, weren't even that mad after I explained the situation. They just said thank you for stopping him, and no one else really said anything about it. NYC says, not the underscore. You and the bride shot him down when he floated this idea. You didn't reject him. You rejected the timing of the proposal and the location. This was their wedding day, not a day for him to shine a spotlight on you. What he was doing was tacky, and you tried to stop him discreetly. If he looks like an underscore, it actually is that he is the underscore. Own it, dude. Maybe he's not as awesome and as good at healthy relationships as you thought he was. Excel Pager says, you need to pull the Uno reverse card. One of the qualities important for me and in a life partner is consideration. Consideration for themselves, their loved ones, friends, family, and general social decorum. Not only is proposing at someone else's wedding tacky as hell, it showed a lack of consideration for your best friend, his wife, their families, yourself, and me. When I tried to speak to you about it, you've been refusing to sit down and talk this out. I need you to give me space while I figure out if I can still see a future in you in this relationship. Not the underscore. Look at the pip says 1. The bride said not to do that. 2. You said not to do that. 3. He didn't ask them permission. 4. He's selfish. Take a good look at his behavior. Is he the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral? What he attempted was incredibly wrong. You did the right thing. Show him this post, not the underscore. So OP did come in with her update and said, I responded to a few comments, but before proceeding with our convo, I read almost every comment, hoping to gain new perspectives and see the situation are presented from a different light. After I got home from the wedding, my boyfriend and I texted back and forth. After he went to bed, I made my Reddit post because I absolutely felt like an underscore was second-guessing everything and thought the night would have gone better if I just let him do his thing. After seeing the responses to my post, I'm more solidified in that I made the right decision. Yes, the night was ruined, but I'd be more comfortable with my life moving forward. I gave my boyfriend and myself a day to think about this and come back with clearer heads. That was yesterday. I took a lot of people's advice and tried to reflect on this behavior was a grand showing of any smaller reaction. The stonewalling isn't super new. In fights at the start of our relationship, he would get quiet and make a small showing of secluding himself. I've countered this by giving my boyfriend his space and telling him that moving forward to just say he didn't have the worst to talk about it and we can reconvene when we're ready to talk. This worked for us. It gave him time to choose his words. We'd have a good discussion of what went wrong and how we could fix it moving forward. I didn't think that he was overtly trying to make me feel worse by the silent treatment back then. However, ignoring me for the rest of our time at the wedding hurt so much. Not even saying, "I just need space right now," and rejecting to hold my hand by pulling away felt like he was pseudo-counter-rejecting me. This was a first. I felt like he was trying to make me feel worse through his lack of communication. That's all I noticed. I've had a partner be verbally abusive to me before and another who wasn't willing to talk about things they did wrong, refusing to take any blame. My boyfriend hasn't done any of that. I'm not saying I recognize all patterns of abuse, but I'd say I'm versed in a few. There's also no real history of me catering to him constantly as others were asking. If either person had strong feelings one way or another in different scenarios, we'd often be fine with that person getting their way. Otherwise, if we both didn't care all that much. He loves to use a wheel-spinning website to make decisions and I think it's cute. We met earlier today. He came over and we sat in my living room. He broke down. He vehemently apologized and said he felt like an underscore. He said he had been reflecting all of yesterday and talking to his dad about the situation. His dad got mad at him and talked him off his ego crash. His words, not mine. He'd already sent a message to our friends, now flying to their honeymoon in West Europe, apologizing for making their most important day about him and for not properly celebrating them. I asked why he neglected our conversation from months before. He said that the groom and their group of friends had egged him on in private since not to propose at the wedding, but to do it soon. He didn't originally plan on doing it at the wedding. He's had the ring with him for about a month, never had any real plan, and wanted it to be just spontaneous. He told me he got caught up in the atmosphere of the wedding, saw his best friend with his girl, and couldn't stop picturing us in the same scenario. His urge overran his common sense in his terms, and he made a choice he ultimately wishes he could take back. It very much spiraled from there. I noted that while his heart was in the right place, that doesn't excuse the underscore storm he put me through after. I expressed to him that ignoring me really hurt me, that him saying my rejection to his proposal was the reason for his embarrassment and shut down was unfair, especially since we already had established for him not to do that. He accepted this and continued to apologize, admitting it was very unfair of him and that he should have handled his emotions and embarrassment better, especially towards me. We had a lull in our conversation after he asked, "Where do we go from here?" At this point, I didn't want to just return back to normal. A day where I expressed to him that I felt the prettiest in a long time. Expect this to have enormous fun and watch our best friends have their moment to shine turned into a day where I was crying in my room reading Reddit comments about how I should break up with him. I genuinely thought I was the underscore who should have just bit the bullet and accepted a proposal in a way that I and others thought wasn't okay. I told him that if we were to move forward, he needed to seek a therapist to help him manage his emotions. Not only from this, but other signs that he may have a panic disorder. My mom works for a mental health clinic and has offered resources before. I said that I needed time to rebuild my trust in him. He understood and is going to seek mental health resources through my mom's clinic. Until then, we'll be on a week or so break with an open channel of communication. He's going to find appropriate channels to better himself, and I'm going to take myself on a mini vacation after the emotional roller coaster that was this weekend. We did talk about what each other's ideal proposal was, something we should have talked about before the trigger was even pulled on it. I said that I didn't care for anything fancy. I just prefer it not to be public. He said that he wanted to make a grand showing of love to me and didn't care where or how. He asked if he was okay to have friends and family present or if that broke my public rule. I said that was fine and was happy with the communicative compromise. I also stated that I didn't want to be proposed to for a while so that we could let the situation rest and figure ourselves out from there. He accepted this. Something I thought that was really sweet that I wanted to mention was that before he left, he said, "I do think I owe you some dancing." And so we slow danced in my living room for about half an hour until we left. A small and romantic action, probably to earn brownie points, but the conversation did reassure me that he's willing to try and be better. He recognized he was in the wrong and that a joyful day was robbed by pride and not rejection. This was about as ideal of an outcome as I'd hoped. Thank you all for taking the time out of your days to reply and bring me back to earth. Thank you to those who messaged me in private to make sure I was okay or to give input. While the future is still obscure, it's a little clearer than it was a couple of days ago. I have a clearer understanding now of what I want and what's healthy. Moving forward, I will do every ounce of weighing before I enter what should be the most important commitment you can make to a person you love. And I keep a more careful eye on his behaviors and how he may react to adverse situations. Hope the best for you all as many have for me. Thank you. Is this one of those stories that we can say communication wins the day? Or maybe you still got some reservations on the matter. A lot of people in the comments on this one were saying, communication does win the day. And glad that they was able to talk it out and not just break up immediately, etc., etc. But what do you guys make of it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account and says, would I be the _ if I tell my friend to stop with her coping mechanism? I'm on a throwaway account because my friend group absolutely knows my main Reddit and I don't want them finding this and making the situation worse. So, I'm trans, but I come from a culture where being trans is dangerous. For my safety, I immigrated to a much more welcoming country when I was 22. I changed my name and began going on estrogen. I am much more happier as when I meet people for the first time, they assume I am cis female. I have a small group of friends that I made 3 years ago. One of these friends has a rather interesting hobby. She enjoys going on social media apps and basically learning everything she can about a person. I'm not really sure why she does this as it seems very weird to me. But she basically told me that she does it because of all the trauma she has from her high school friends who basically manipulate or bullied her into thinking she forgot important info about them. Ever since then, she goes on social media or even listens to gossips about almost everyone that she knows just so she never misses a thing. I don't really understand it, but someone with trauma myself, I understand that we handle things differently than what's normal. I haven't told my friends that I'm trans. I understand that it seems wrong, but I just generally don't trust people with that kind of information. It's not that I don't think they will be supportive. I just don't think that they need to know this. And I'm a little afraid of our dynamic changing as I love them a lot and can't stand to lose any more loved ones. I know that if it comes to a point where it's needed, I will tell them, but right now it's not important information. So this friend Amelia, fake name, was acting really weird around me. It felt like she was bringing up or talking about similar things that I haven't told anyone about. Not directly, but she'll say things like, example, I heard about this place called restaurant that I went to when I was younger. The food seems interesting there. I thought I was just going crazy at first as the internet is free and she is allowed to see things from my hometown without it being linked to me. That is until yesterday. She was talking to our friends about baby names as she is pregnant and brought up my freaking dead name. We made eye contact for a bit as my friends gushed on how cute it sounded. But all agreed it doesn't really fit her ethnicity. She moved on and never brought it up again. I don't feel anything towards the name, nor do I feel like she isn't allowed to name her baby after it if she so desires to. But it feels like a twisted form of power play. I'm not sure how she found it, but I don't think she used it against me, nor out me, and she's not that type of person. I feel like maybe she's just trying to hint that she knows right now. I just want to call her out on what she's doing and tell her that she needs to stop as it's making me uncomfortable. But again, I'm not sure if this is the right move as it is her coping mechanism for her trauma. First season says to OP, just keep ignoring this person. She's not a friend. And I call bull on her trauma. That is her excuse other than just being a nosy Nelly. If the trauma were true, she would not be doing the same thing. Your identity is no one's business but yours to disclose if you choose to do so in your own way and to whom you would choose to do so. I don't think confronting this person is the way to do it. OP says, you're probably right. I'm just worried I might overstep and lose everything as they've been friends with each other longer than they have been with me. Fashionably punctual, says not the _ that's so invasive and rude and gaslighty that I wonder who was really the bully in her high school friendships. If she found out you had a dead sibling, would she drop weird random hints about that too? Take away this being about your transition and apply her behavior to any other sensitive topic someone wouldn't want casually hinted at in a public setting. And it should be easy to see how inappropriate and cruel she is being. Flashy Bridge says, not the _ this isn't a coping mechanism. This is invading privacy. This is extremely unhealthy and honestly our distance from her if possible. That behavior is not okay. It's one thing to look up a person if you're going on a date with them. It's another to fully deep dive into past lives of everyone you develop a friendship with. She needs therapy she thinks as a healthy or acceptable coping mechanism. Tangerine Queasy says, I think if it's bothering you and you feel concerned, gently ask her in private if there's anything on her mind that she would like to say. It's possible that you feel sensitive and are connecting things that aren't there or she is being a bit cruel teasing you with triggering information to get a reaction out of you. If she enjoys being nosy about people's lives in a private capacity, that's her deal. But using that information that is meant to stay private is not okay. P.S. I don't think you need to tell anyone that you are trans unless you want to. It's your business. Who you are as you are is all that matters. The details are irrelevant. So OP does update the post and says, "First of all, wow. I just want to thank everybody for the nice comments and messages that were really sent to me. I'll be honest, the last 3 to 4 months have been difficult for me, and the kind words I received really helped." On to the updates. Amelia gave birth to a healthy baby boy, and no, she did not name him after my dead name. I don't think I would have cared anyway because 1, like I said, I don't feel any attachment or trauma with that name, and 2, it's her loss if she names her son that because she is white as snow and I am Arab. Regardless, I still felt happy for her and celebrated her son because she was still my friend. Second, there's a trend on TikTok or Instagram where person A will record person B and film their reaction to hearing the sentence, "I'm so hungry I could eat" name. For those who might not know, the name they will say tends to be of a person that person B has a strong past with, like an ex or a dead friend or something. Me and my friend group went over to my best friend's house for a girls' night to spend some time with Amelia since she's been busy with her son. They did the TikTok trend, and since I don't really frequent social media nor post myself, I mostly watched and chit-chatted with other friends who also weren't super into trends. We were having fun till Amelia pointed the phone at me and said, "Hey, my name. I'm so hungry I could eat." Father's name. I was beyond shocked. My dead name has no meaning to me but my father's. Like a knife twisted into me. Hearing his name made me panic. I guess my other friends noticed and told the media to stop and delete the video. I basically disassociated during the argument, but from what my friends told me after was that Amelia claimed it was just a joke and a trend that people do. She then went on to claim that I was in the wrong and outed me to my friends who luckily didn't care. Like they were accepting as I hoped. She basically got kicked out of the house after a long screaming match and my friends told me she wasn't welcomed in the friend group anymore after what she had done to me. I felt awful about this as she was friends with him longer than I was and felt like I was ruining things. They assured me that I didn't and they accepted me. I apologized for not telling them sooner and they understood that it was my secret to tell. Amelia did end up posting the video and vague posted about me and the rest of the group. Got taken down after my best friend confronted her and forced her to delete the videos, but the damage was already done and a lot more people knew. On the brighter side, I never really got questioned by those mutual friends of Amelia. So, that's good. After that, we never really heard or paid any attention to her again. I finally started therapy and my therapist was the one who suggested to update you all. As some form of closure, she said. So, once again, thank you to Reddit for all the kind words and messages and hopefully nothing else this bad happens again. The top comment on this one, I have to read it out. It was exactly the same as something I'm thinking, but it said, "What is wrong with people that this became a trend? Like, yeah, let's trigger people for fun." I read your original post. Glad you're doing better and that Amelia will no longer be in your life. And yeah, that was not a trauma response on her part. That was her just stalking and taking perverse pleasure in tormenting you when she knew you couldn't do or say anything about it. I fear for a child, frankly, but not your problem. Go heal and live your best life. And it definitely did feel like she was getting something out of it, that she wanted a reaction from OP by bringing those up. Otherwise, why would you do it? Quite simply, absolutely awful person. And I'm glad that Op's friends were accepting. But what do you guys make of this situation? Have you heard of this trend before? Never seen it myself, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Fake Pisser who says, "My mom, female 48, is trying to force me, male 17, to fly to another state and take a pre-job drug test for my brother, 22. To be honest, I have done this in the past. I've taken pre-hire drug tests for him. I hated doing it, but I did it. We look enough alike that on his driving license, we pull it off. And people at those clinics are more busy making sure you don't sneak something in your pants than with ID pics. My brother asked me first cause he knew he was going to apply a couple of months ago. I said no and told him to get clean and he got pissed at me. Then got my mom to take his side and here we are. I hate doing this cause I hate that I'm doing something illegal and I hate that my brother won't stop smoking weed long enough to get a good job. I have nothing against weed. I just don't smoke. And I hate how lazy and irresponsible he is. I would have to fly out and miss some school, but my mom is threatening to revoke my work permit. I work at a burger place part-time. I love my job, but I can only keep it if my GPA stays high and my mom and my guidance counselor sign a permission slip. Don't want to do anything illegal anymore. Don't want to keep bailing out my brother. I hate doing this, period. My mom also threatened to kick me out of the house, but I think that one is a bluff. I would have to fly out Sunday and have a big chemistry test on Monday. I feel like I have no way out. This sucks. Let me know if any good ideas come to mind to help me do the best thing. Mr. Jules suggested to OP, just tell them you smoked weed. EP says, didn't think of this. My mom would probably drug test me to check cause we've been fighting over this. I should have thought of this sooner. Damn, thanks. This would have been genius. Another commenter says this looks like the best option since she doesn't seem to give a underscore if the other brother does it. Opie says nah. She never cared he did anything. But if I get a B instead of an A, all hell breaks loose. I get grounded, lose my laptop, and no TV and no friends. Doesn't seem balanced. EP op on how he's faked test for his brother in the past. EP says they never let me go alone. He always walks in with me to make sure I don't chicken out. Then when they call his name, he puts a magazine over his face or just bends down and looks at his phone. Great idea though, so thank you. Opie also says, but I can't go to jail or suffer some legal consequences if I get caught trying. I don't want to lose my scholarships or even my acceptance to my future college. EPO on how his mom can revoke his work permit. They said the high school I attended has to give you a work permit in order to get a part-time job or nobody will hire you without it. But the rules are that you have to maintain a high GPA and your parents have to sign a consent form. Once you have all that, your guidance counselor will give final approval. Those are the rules. So my mom can go to the counselor at any time and say she's no longer content to me working. She can say anything from behavior problems at home to I need more time for homework and family. Anything. That would be it. They revoke my work permit and I get fired. I always find situations like this absolutely heartbreaking because I think, that's a very small part of ops life that we've seen. What else is not in the background? I mean, mom is pressuring OP to do this drug test, which could be considered fraud in some places. Maybe all places. I don't know. I just done a quick Google and I briefly saw that there is possible legal consequences of this and mom is pressuring their child to do that. But someone else says to OP, tell her if she revokes your permit, you will tell your school counselor why she is, then she will really be in trouble. She will get super pissed, but there is nothing she can really do. She also cannot legally kick you out of the house until you're 18. Stay strong, kid. If you get caught doing this, your whole future is ruined. And I don't want that to happen. It sounds like you have a good head on your shoulders. You're right. Your brother could easily clean up his act if for no other reason than to just pass the test. It's not that hard to stop smoking weed for a few months. I do not smoke, but I have a few friends that do and they have all quit before for job drug screenings. It's a slight inconvenience and saves them money. FKA says, wow, your mom should enter the enabling Olympics. She's contended for the gold medal, even on a sub-rampant with descriptions of enabling parents and SOS. Tell her, that, and if she threatens to withhold permission for you to continue to work, tell her you'll tell school counselor why. Oh, Mr. Mrs. School Counselor, the mom won't let me keep my job because I wouldn't fly out to fraudulently take a pre-employment drug test for my brother. So, it was about 6 weeks after that post that OP came in again and said, it didn't go too well for me. My mom dropped me at the airport. I didn't get on the plane. I just sat there and they called for my plane to board. The airline lady asked me if I wanted to board because she saw I was the only one left in the waiting area. I felt scared. I'm not going to lie. That was the hardest moment of my life by far. Hit the fan when my brother found out I wasn't getting off the plane that night when he went to pick me up from the airport. My mom called and called until finally she just texted me not to come home. I spent the night at the airport and I took the bus to school on that Monday. I took my chemistry test and totally bombed it. I got to see I wish I have a dover on that cause I know all that stuff. I don't know what happened there. I got fired from my job cause my mom revoked my permission slip to work. I spoke to my boss but there was nothing he could do to keep me working for him. He said he respects me and that he would hire me when I'm 18, but nothing he can do now. I don't live at home anymore. I got kicked out. The whole thing was bad. My self-esteem is in the dumps cause I don't like staying at my friend's house where I stay now. Sometimes I think that all I had to do was take the stupid drug test and everything would be fine now. Thanksgiving is coming and it's weird not having a place or a family to have that holiday with. I thought it would all blow over by now, but it hasn't. My mom is more angry about this than I thought. She moved and rented another house, so my old house is done. To me, it makes a difference. Honestly, I would love to say, hey, I did the right thing and it's all good, but it's not that easy. I'm lost for now, at least. I don't know how to move on without a home to go home to. I have to confess that I wish my mom would call me and tell me I was right. It's just not that easy to leave your family behind. So, anyway, I don't know what else to say. I have my clothes and my books and my school stuff. I finish off the year wishing time will fly by and I can start college and just try to move on. Sometimes I feel like I made a mountain out of a molehill. Up everything. But I can't wait to have kids so I can help them do the right things without punishing them. That's the one thing I can know I will for sure do when I have kids. For now, things suck and they're hard. Being kind of homeless sucks. Staying at somebody else's house is not the same as having your own bed. The top commenter on this one said, "OP, you're going to look back on this event in a few years and be so, proud of yourself for not having gone through with this illegal request from your mom and brother. Not only that, it is a blessing in a way that because you know how little these people care about you. They literally couldn't give two shits about you. And you don't need to feel bad or give a either. You say that you wish time flew by so you could go to college. I'm assuming that you are admitted somewhere and will be going. This will be a tough year for you, but I'm hoping college will be a helpful experience and that you can find support and good friends there. I promise it will all get better." Opie says, "I've been admitted to the school I want to go to, so the sooner that day comes, the better for me and the easier things will be." Dinosaur Train says to OP, "I've also been on my own since I was a teenager. Oh, things suck ass. I promise you're so much better off finding out the truth about your family now. It doesn't seem like it while you're a minor and vulnerable. But trust me, it is true. This temporary hardship is miles better than years of your mom would have hung around your neck. In the meantime, perhaps you could see an attorney and find out what your rights are about suing for child support for yourself and being illegally evicted." If that's the case, Opie says, "I don't know. I can't afford an attorney and I don't think I want one either. As messed up as my mom is, I have no desire to make things worse for her in the long run or handle whatever comes to me. I don't think she can handle what comes to her if I make legal trouble. That mom and that brother are absolute scumbags. Imagine kicking out your teen child because they refuse to commit fraud for their brother. And it just brings me back to what I said in the first part of it. I wonder how much care and love there was in the first place to go to turn around and do something like that. It just, it's just, heartbreaking. Honestly, I hope OP did reach out to any resources that they have around them. The school counselor or any displaced teens resources. It also shows how, normalization of mom's kind of behaviors because Op's still trying to defend her in some ways towards the end there. He doesn't want to go for any kind of child support or things like that. I'm not sure of the possibilities of it, but still the mindset is that he wants to protect her in some kind of way because she's already going through enough yet despite her kicking him out, despite her pressuring him to do something illegal. But I hope OP did look back on this and think and know that they did the right thing. They made the right choice. And I really, really, really do hope that they're out there somewhere absolutely thriving, away from their mom, away from that brother who's willing to put them in harm's way. Absolutely heartbreaking. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, before we do get into this next story, I want to give you a couple of trigger warnings of mental health struggles and eating disorders as well. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description along the timeline below. This one's from Crazy Girl Issues, who says, 30 male with 29 female for 2 years. Am I crazy for thinking her reaction to me being late with the pizza is massively out of proportion? So, this feels crazy to me even asking this. But I just need some kind of confirmation or perspective I'm not seeing. I live with my girlfriend. Every Friday is pizza night. We either order some Domino's or I pick up Papa Murphy's. She loves pizza night because during the week we are pretty strict with our diet and exercise. So, Friday nights are Pop Pizza movie and it's a treat. I get off of work at 5 o'clock. She gets off at 6 o'clock. So, if I'm picking up the pizza, then I get it on the way home. Yesterday, it was my duty to pick up the pizza. I stayed after work for another 40 minutes talking to my brother about business ideas because we own our business. And it's really helpful to brainstorm after we close. I work 25 minutes from the house. She works 20 minutes from the house. I ordered the pizza from Papa Murphy's. You have to bake it yourself at home for 15 minutes at 5 and plan to leave work at 5:40 with the intent on getting the pizza and being home in time to throw it in the oven and have it done within 5 to 10 minutes after she walked in the door. Well, I get the pizza and there's a traffic accident on the freeway. It delays me 15 minutes. When I get home, which is about 2 minutes after she did, she is all, "I'm really disappointed that you didn't get the pizza here faster. You know how important it is," etc. I explained to her that there was a traffic accident and that I had planned to be here in time to have it done. She then goes on a rant saying that I should have left right at 5 o'clock so I would have for sure get the pizza here in time and have it ready for her when she got home. Keep in mind I brought this pizza back basically every week for the past month and I either have it totally ready or at least in the oven by the time she gets home. Somehow though, the times when it was just in the oven were me being late then too. And she brought that up as more evidence that I'm terrible. Anyway, I go into the bedroom to be alone so that I don't have to hear her ranting. She won't drop it though and comes in there after 5 minutes to continue bitching about her pizza and how I shouldn't be upset because she's the one that was disappointed. I tell her, fine, I'm leaving for a while because I don't want to sit here and hear this after I just sat in traffic for 40 minutes getting this thing for her. She then flips out and tells me I shouldn't come back if I'm leaving. chases me out the door and screams for me to pack my things and take them with me before I go, etc. I ignore this and tell her she's acting like a child and that it's like watching a 2-year-old have a tantrum. I come back 3 hours later and she has a suitcase and a bag of clothes thrown out in the driveway. No texts or calls, just that. I slept at my office and now I'm not really sure what to do here. Am I missing something here where I wasn't being sensitive? Do I just wait for an apology? And then if it isn't forthcoming, I should walk. It seems like insanity to me, but maybe I'm missing something. Edit. So, I finally texted her this afternoon and she said she was pissed because I ignored her / was acting cold after she bitched at me when I went into the bedroom to defuse the situation. I was there for under 5 minutes before she came in to continue fighting about it. When I left, she says, "I told you that if you ever left, you could never come back. You left. Now," she says, "it's up to me if I still want to be together." I told her that me being required to be in her presence while she rants at me is abuse. I can leave if I want to. In fact, the week prior, she specifically told me I should leave for a little while when she starts acting crazy because she ends up saying things she doesn't mean. So, I literally followed her advice this time. Now she says I'm basically required to stay at her side while she rages at me. GH. I feel like it's time to move on because I know she won't get help for this and I know it's just going to keep happening. It's just so hard because I do still love her and if she would just be willing to get help, I would have hope. So someone asks OP if this is the girlfriend's typical reaction if things don't go the way she wanted. EP says this is literally the entire story. Sometimes it's like talking to a different person. One person is kind and loving, but then she can flip this switch where she is unable to be reasoned with and goes absolutely batshit crazy. It happens when she's frustrated too. An example also with pizza. A few months ago, I was dropping my car off to get a stereo installed. I needed her to pick me up there after she was done with work on Friday because I had to leave it there for a few hours. Well, she couldn't find the place and got a little lost, so she called me. She couldn't use her GPS because she used up all her data on a prepaid plan. I tried to help her with my Google Maps and figured out where she was really quickly, like 2 minutes from the place. I told her to go north and take the first right she could. Well, she doesn't know compass directions where she was. So, this frustrated her and she started screaming into the phone how this was pizza night and how maybe I could just call her once the car was ready and she'd pick me up then. I told her that would be several hours and that it didn't make any sense. I needed food, etc. So, she says, "Fine, I'll try to find you." 30 seconds later, she finds me. She later apologized about her behavior, but it was still shocking at the time. Now, I guess I'm starting to realize this is normal for her whenever she is at all stressed. Opie responded to a comment regarding the girlfriend's background, and Opie says, "You're pretty insightful. She has abandonment issues because her dad left and her mom was legitimately insane, regularly beat her, addicted to drugs, went to prison for a few years, and had to be raised by grandma. And she ended up emancipating herself at 16. Yes, minor changes in routine very much upset her. No reason to distrust me. I've never cheated." She has. Someone asks OP if they informed his girlfriend that they would be staying late at work. OP says no because I regularly stay late at work, but I always get home before her, so it usually doesn't matter. Same thing here. I was on time until I hit the traffic jam. I tried to get around it, but it didn't help. I thought I would get home right around the same time as her and that it wouldn't be a big deal for her to wait 15 minutes, but apparently it was. And another commenter says BPD is not very resistant to treatment. DBT works wonders. Once a patient can recognize their own emotions, they can learn to cope with them properly. The disorder becomes manageable from there. The patient is going to have to be in a place where they're ready to get help and challenge their own beliefs. But that's the same of any mental illness ever. You's girlfriend doesn't sound like she's there, but that doesn't mean she'll never be there. Nor should she be told she never will be. You seem to understand the disorder. You understand why telling someone with BPD that they're untreatable is detrimental, right? We should be telling them that they aren't broken and hopeless. That said, OP, her childhood, plus what you wrote in the comments also struck me as borderline. She believes she is horrible, that she doesn't deserve love, that everyone abandons her. She doesn't know how to feel good about herself because she was never taught how. Is absolutely not your responsibility to teach her that or even to help her through any of this. You're not married. It's only been 2 years. She will need to learn one way or another that she's hurting herself and everyone around her with her behavior. She will need to decide she needs help. Just try to keep in mind that she's suffering too. If / when you leave her, don't be too cruel. Op quotes the part that says she believes she's horrible, that she doesn't deserve love, that everyone abandons her. And Opie says she's used exactly those words to describe how she feels about herself. She feels an emptiness inside that she thought was because of our relationship and me not making her feel loved enough. So, she cheated, but it didn't help her. After the cheating, I tried to get her to see a counselor, but she refused in a passive/aggressive way of promising to go, but never making the appointment and becoming angry when I pressed her on it after a month of nothing. I guess I just needed her to let go and hope that she gets treatment for herself at some point. Her opinion of counselors is that they are useless and never help. So Opie came in with her first update and said after some more texting, she admitted that she owed me an apology and asked me to come back and talk. As soon as I walked in, she had a sheepish look and apologized and said she knows something is wrong with her, but she isn't sure what it is and really doesn't want to have to take medication. That's when I brought up the fact that we both already know that her sister has a very severe case of borderline personality disorder. Her sister is very intelligent yet often homeless, has been married 5+ times at 35 years old, thinks no one loves her, and everyone persecutes her for her political views, etc. I never thought my girlfriend had this disorder, though, because her sister was so severe in comparison that I never really stopped and paid attention to a lot of the things that she does do. I still hit a lot of the major criteria. Major fears of abandonment from childhood, stormy relationships with men, few friends, viewing me as perfect when she's happy and terrible when she's upset, extreme sensitivity to criticism, past issues with bulimia, crazy/paranoid, i.e. unfounded, no evidence, thoughts of what I think of her when she is upset, and a cycle of shame and guilt about the things she does to avoid emotional pain, and dealing with the consequences of her actions. Anyway, she was curious enough about it to go and look this up on the computer, take a basic psych test to see if it's possible. She scored in the likely score range, even with some answers that I thought were denying reality. I kept quiet while she took it, though. That would have scored her higher. After that, she looked into what treatment was available. I know she absolutely does not like the idea of counseling. So, I suggested books and she agreed to at least start with that. So, I feel like this is a positive step forward where I was feeling hopeless before she realizes she has a problem, and I'm just anxious about whether she will take the book seriously and really work on understanding why she acts this way sometimes. 95% of the time I'm with her is wonderful and she is amazing. But this 5% of when she cannot handle stress or minor issues, they turn into huge blow-ups, is very difficult. One of her suggestions on what would make her feel better when she does this is if I pretended to be concerned, even if it's a trivial issue. She says it doesn't even matter if I have to grit my teeth and lie to her. It'll make her feel better than when I walk away. I don't think she realized it when she said it, but we do the same thing to her sister. When a sister is saying crazy stuff too. Overall, I'm much more hopeful now, but at the same time realistic that she has thus far not really done anything to help herself, and reading books could help, but not in the same way a counselor could. I think I'm hoping that if she reads these books and realizes a lot of things ring true with her, maybe she'll be more open to counseling. Quick edits. I know a lot of you said it wasn't about the pizza. In a way, you're right. In a way, not. She was much more upset by the fact that I wanted to go into my room rather than stay and listen to her ranting about that. Someone with BPD is apparently much more short-fused when you're not giving them attention when they need it. So, a minor issue about pizza turns into crazed "you don't love me, you don't care about me" ramblings. It really was as simple as the pizza being late, and my avoidance reaction set off her insanity. The top commenter said to OP, "You two shouldn't pursue treatment from books based on a personality disorder that you've armchair diagnosed. This book path won't actually help. She needs to work with a pro, and you need to make it an ultimatum. You can't stay with her as is untreated. If you do, expect more of the same. And remember, if you do care about her happiness, you must know that the book path won't get her there. She needs the help of professionals, and you'd be wrong to accept anything less." Now, the commenter says she needs therapy. A constant, judgment-free relationship with the same therapist serving as a safe zone where she won't be abandoned no matter what. You can't be that safe zone. And the last commenter on that update says, "Borderline partners are very hard to handle. If she can recognize that herself, you can be okay. Please be firm with her. Make sure you establish your own boundaries. Don't let her walk all over you and abuse you. Be healthy." So, 1.5 months later, Opie comes in with what is titled their final update and says, "Well, I just couldn't make it work with her anymore. I didn't want to talk about it in the original post, but she had cheated on me multiple times already, and I caught her doing more stuff. She told me she was just seeing her ex once in a while as a friend, but I caught texts she had sent him where he was mad that she wasn't getting sexual with him enough, and that she only saw him once every couple of weeks, so she must be seeing another guy, accusing her of lying about whether she is single or not. She replied to him saying she is single and wasn't looking for other guys, etc. But that she found out he was on a dating site looking for other girls. So, she was mad about that. That, combined with other things that have just always been problems, has led me to the realization that we'll never be able to do enough for her to be happy. That there is no version of reality where I can trust her enough to get married and have kids, or where I can go on a weekend trip and not worry that she's out with another guy while I'm gone. I told her last night that we needed some time apart and she predictably flew into a rage and told me to get the underscore out and said if I didn't take all my stuff, she would throw it away. I told her if she wanted to be a baby about it, do that. She could, but I wasn't going to pack up the entire house full of my stuff while she's raging at me. So, I took my necessities and left. She apologized today and said she wouldn't throw out my stuff, but I'm currently in a motel and looking for an apartment tomorrow. I think my mental state has been warped pretty badly by this relationship, and I'm looking forward to resetting. I haven't pursued my hobbies or tried to make friends in a long time because every spare moment was spent with her and trying to make sure she didn't feel like I was giving her enough attention. I would get anxious if I was running late coming home from work because I was worried she would be really upset. Most of all, I just felt like I was dealing with someone that doesn't think about things like I do and doesn't have the sense of morality that I do. I never really know if it was BPD because she refused to go to counseling and nothing I could do or say would make her go. I hope someday she is happy, but I fear she is in for a lot of short-term relationships where guys are initially thrilled to be with her, but then they aren't perfect in some way. That's when the ship will hit the rocks again, and there's no recovery from it because she takes no responsibility for repairing the damage she causes and only builds up resentment that she isn't treated like a princess, regardless of how she treats you. Edits. I'm reading all of your replies, so even if I don't respond, I really do appreciate the kind words and constructive opinions. I'm actually having a bit of a laugh right now because the more I read and write about the crap that went on, I realized what a huge drain on my mental energy this has been. I own a business and part of what makes or breaks an entrepreneur is coming up with good ideas that help the business grow. My mind has been in a fog for so long that I haven't put as much energy into that as I should have been. But luckily for me, and maybe this is a sign if there is a higher power, my salary basically went from $50K to $250K in the past couple of weeks because of a good idea that worked well. So, I've got that to help cheer me up. And the top comment on that final update said, "I'm sad you put up with her abuse for so long. In the end, it doesn't matter if she has BPD. She treats you horribly and is intolerable. She won't try to fix it. If I were you, I'd sneak your things out and leave her without fully informing her up front because she'll probably destroy your property. She's out of control. Good luck in the future, and I'm glad you escaped her." Opie says it sounds worse than it is when I only talk about the bad. She was very loving and kind 95% of the time, but the 5% was pretty bad, and the thing she did behind my back makes me question what percentage of the time she was faking it. Some of the affection had to be faked or else there is a disconnect in her mind between her time with me and her time alone and or with other guys. Cum says mental illness has been emotionally abusive and your freedom and happiness before you. Good luck. Cum to replies that saying I was a social worker and I could think of a few disorders that might fit. She's best off getting an evaluation by a professional. But OP, it is so important that you remember that fixing her is not your job. I frequently see people who feel guilty about leaving a partner who clearly has issues, so they tried to get them help. But in addition to the fact that this doesn't often work, it's bad for the stable partner, and the stable partner does not actually owe it to the ill partner to help them. When you break up, you are your only priority, period. Opie says there was definitely a strong factor of wanting to help her. When I first met her, I considered myself extremely mentally strong and stable. And when she seemed like such a great person with just a few things that needing fixing, I thought my personality and way of dealing things would rub off on her, and she would see how much better life is when you don't flip out, lie/sneak, etc. But I've learned now that 30 years old are not children, and if they haven't learned right or wrong by this age, they aren't going to change. She often told me she wouldn't want to continue living if I died and subtly implied that she would kill herself, etc. But I don't really believe it anymore because she has plenty of other guys waiting to throw themselves at her if she wants that. So, I think she'll be just fine. Or at least as fine as she can be. And the last commenter says, "Have a pizza to celebrate." Opie says, "Lol, I wonder how long it'll be before I can stop associating a pizza on Friday as something I better get right or my ass is hitting the curb." And absolutely OP made the right decision to leave in the end. When OP was talking about 95% good and 5% bad dynamic, we've seen that time and time again, maybe described in different ways, but it seems quite common in emotionally abusive relationships. That good times that you're enjoying and everything's happy and you're showing love towards one another keep you hanging on while the bad times slowly just deteriorate your own mental health, which was clearly happening to OP in this situation. They was worried about bringing a pizza home from work because if they're late, they're going to get in trouble about it. And it was clear in the end by how OP was feeling that toxic relationships like this can drain your energy. And you don't realize it when you're out. I often call it like the fog that sort of lifts and then you can see everything around you again. And you can't be responsible for her mental health, especially when she's not willing to work on it herself. And that's without going into all the cheating stuff as well. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Realistic Cloud 3033 and it says, my partner cutting off a lifelong family friend because of her inappropriate messages. So, I am in a kind of up situation. I mean, I know I'm right to have my boundaries, but I also feel guilty that my husband is cutting off help to lifelong family friends because of me. My husband is a doctor, so it's normal that family and friends kind of come to us/him for reassurance because someone you know either reaffirming what you were told or giving you a referral if possible makes people feel better. Zero issues there. I love that he is empathetic and it honestly makes me wicked proud of him that people think that highly of him. So, he has a friend who he grew up with. Their families pretty much raised them together. They were always friends since we met, but never like super close. Plus, we live in different parts of the US. I've met her multiple times and she seemed very sweet. She also was married when I originally met her and has 2 kids. Well, her father is very sick and with a type of cancer that has a low rate of recovery. We live in the Northeast and they live down south, so our medical care is definitely exponentially better. My husband has been helping consult and just being a good friend to them to make sure he gets the best care possible. This friend has been a bit needy and using him for emotional support. I get it. I'm not jealous because what we have is solid. Plus, when he has his medical mindset, that's it. Well, over the weekend, he woke up to some very questionable texts from his friend. She pretty much declared her love for him, claimed God brought them together through their sin, that she always knew they'd end up together. Like, what the actual He told me as soon as he saw them in the morning, he messaged her back, saying that what she said was highly inappropriate. She needed to find a therapist and he can no longer help out. She claimed she was just drinking and emotional. She also begged him not to tell me. We don't keep secrets. He blocked her number. And I don't know what she told his mom exactly, but she's so angry. And apparently, it's all my fault. We don't like each other either. I'm not the Christian housewife she envisioned. We for her son, I guess. I didn't ask him to cut all ties. He did it out of respect and says that she has doctors and family to lean on. I feel slightly guilty because hope that this doesn't impact quality of care. Maybe there was a way to cut her out. And my husband helps her mom with medical stuff when needed. This whole situation has been making me feel gross. Am I the here? I don't think I am, but I feel bad. Absolutely not the in this situation. And you know, she crossed a line that basically cannot be uncrossed. The I was drinking excuse ain't going to undo what she said. And her begging him not to tell you shows she knew exactly how inappropriate her messages were. As for the medical situation, like your husband said, there's other doctors in place. He's got family to lean on. She's not like left all alone or anything. And I think your husband dealt with it in a decent way. He told you right away. He set a boundary with her. And you know, he's suggesting that she get professional help and the blocking contact to prevent further inappropriate behavior. But the top commenter says, not the tell your mother-in-law coveting your neighbor's husband/wife is unchristian, right? The commenter says, not when mother-in-law sees the prospect of a better daughter-in-law. Sounds like she raised a gem of a man anyway though. You'd think she'd have the sense to be proud of it. Twilight says, not the asshole. And I bet your mother-in-law has been feeding this woman all kinds of about you and feeding her ego. Realistic Cloud says, I 100% believe that she is flaming this fire. Another commenter says, your husband's a solid dude. We must protect him at all costs. And OP says, I 100% agree. Honesty and clear communication is a huge thing for us. So, shortly after that, OP comes in to update their situation, and says, I just wanted to post a quick update on our situation. My husband called his mother to try and set clear boundaries. I'm pretty sure she doesn't believe that boundaries apply to her and set things straight before they escalated more. Well, apparently that crazy train had already left the station. He called her on speakerphone, which he told her while I was in the room. She lost her mind and demanded they have a private conversation because this was a matter between family. He corrected her and let her know I am family. She went on a rant about how I was displaying abusive and controlling behavior. She claimed I was isolating him from family like I did before. We went no contact with her once before because of her bad behavior. And she blames me and I guess had been holding on to that. Like what the had to leave the room then because my anxiety was too much. He's the most calm and level-headed person I know. He was starting to raise his voice. About 5 minutes later, he came into our bedroom where I was trying not to have an anxiety attack. He told me he let her know how disgusted he was with her behavior and disappointed that she didn't learn a lesson about trying to interfere with our marriage. He also informed her for an indefinite amount of time that he will be taking space from her. He also told her not to try and contact me. I have her silenced already. Oh, one little fact came out is that his mom and ex have been seeing a lot of each other. His mom had been helping with the kids while the ex-friend and her mom are dealing with medical stuff for her dad. Just to address a couple of things. Yes, I realize I have an amazing partner. I love this man so much. I regularly tell him and show him how much I love and appreciate him, so don't worry. The reason I thought I might be someone in the wrong is because I've battled cancer in my early 20s. During that, I had a boyfriend cheat on me with a good friend of mine because he was overwhelmed and they tried to gaslight me into thinking it was my fault because of all the stress. I felt so abandoned and hurt. I just didn't want to feel like I was making anyone else feel that